Nice, and we are live. All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the stream. If you're watching after the stream, just as a video, then welcome to the channel. My name is the Libservative. I was about to call myself Star from the main channel, but nah, I'm the Libservative, man. I am the most based liberal you will ever meet. I hate my own people. Not really. I shouldn't say that. I've been drinking, man. Forgive me. I got no filter right now. I'm riffing. I'm off the cuff riffing today. And anybody who's tuning in tonight, I really appreciate you. Yo, Marshall, sup? What's up, baby? How you doing, man? Bright and early. That is so cool to see you in the chat. But yeah, man, we're gonna hang out. We're gonna watch some videos today. I'm in a funk today. I needed to hang out with some people, and I didn't want to go live on the main account, because it's the main account. This is where I get to let loose and just say whatever the fuck I want, because I ain't monetized. So. I appreciate you, Marshall. Thank you for tuning in so bright and early, man. That's really, really cool. I'm assuming you've got notifications turned on. Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened. My boy. Thanks, man. But now we're going to hang out, man. We're going to watch some videos. We're just going to chill. I'm just sipping on some... What is this? This is a... So check this out. A beer hug. A beer hug, bro. Some IPAs. This is about 10% that I'm sipping on right now. This is a very strong beer. You need to hang out with someone, man. You're going to be real, bro. You and me both. Welcome. Let's hang out. I need some socialization. I need some people, some human interaction right now. It's been a weird day. It has been a very, very weird day, and I needed to go live because I need to talk to people. And I'm glad you're here, man. I'm really glad you're here. How am I? I'm okay. I'm okay. Like on the surface, I am okay. Inside, I'm hurting a little bit, but this is definitely the beer talking. I should mention, by the way, I'm already like one twisted tea in. Hold on, do I still have the can? Oh, I do. Oh shit, hold up. I took this one straight to the face, dude. I downed this twisted tea. So I'm already feeling loosey-goosey. And we're just following it up with the IPA. So I'm going to kick it and just watch some videos and chill with you guys. I'm hoping some other people join in later. If not, it ain't nothing but a thing. I'm going to be here. Something happened? Yeah. You know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. But I'm feeling some type of way in the moment. It's nothing big. It's nothing big. Just flirting, you know, flirting. Girls, women, man. That's the thing. That's really it. It's women. I think you can relate, bro. Yep. I'll just leave it there. Women. Oh, it's going to be a great stream. I can already feel it. All right, let's see what YouTube is offering, man. I was actually just reading this article about the KOTOR remake. This might interest you, Marshall. Because we got some screenshots from the canceled version of the KOTOR remake that Aspyr was working on. Because, you know, Aspyr was working on it, and then the whole conglomerate kind of fell apart, and it got moved to Saber Interactive, because Saber was one of the development studios. I think this is how it's been a while since I've looked into this, but I think Saber was one of the development studios underneath Aspyr, which was like the big umbrella company, which had a bunch of development studios underneath it, one of which was Saber. Saber Interactive split from Aspyr, and they got the ability to make KOTOR. So now they're working on the KOTOR remake, allegedly, if it's not canceled secretly. But we just got this report with some screenshots from Aspyr's version that they were working on before it went to Saber. And it looks pretty cool. I mean, there's a couple of cool looking screenshots here. Like there's a third-person POV of the player character holding a vibroblade. And I mean, it's like got the swords, it's got the lightsabers. There's like a workbench where it looks like you can customize your blaster. It's just a bunch of screenshots from the game that they were working on before it got canned. I'm burpy, forgive me. I'm a gassy boy. But I thought it was kind of cool. just because this is the first look that we're actually getting of what the KOTOR remake was going to be like. I'm not confident that it's coming out. I'm really not, man. It's taking way too long now. But it is what it is. That's just kind of the state of Star Wars games right now. Star Wars games are so cooked. Star Wars is cooked. It needs something big right now. It was kind of a bummer that the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer didn't really do a whole lot to boost fan interest. Because I'm going to be 100% real. I said this on the Star Bazaar stream last night. I'm way more hyped for Visions Season 3 than I am for Mandalorian and Grogu. Visions Season 3 looks so fucking good, bro. And, like, not that Mandalorian and Grogu looks bad. It's just not as hype. You know what I mean? It just feels not as exciting. I'm way more excited for the anime side of things. Not gonna lie, you've been listening to All Girls Are the Same by Juice WRLD. I never got around to listening to Juice WRLD. I had a lot of friends who did, and then when he passed away, I remember that being a big conversation. But I never got around to listening to the guy myself. Is he good? Is he worth checking out? If he's actually like a good artist, I could always use new music, you know? I miss Star Wars games too. I do. I think I'm going to stream Fallen Order tomorrow on the Star Bazaar. Because I'm sick of Battlefront. But Fallen Order and Survivor are peak content. But yeah, I'm just looking at these screenshots from the canceled KOTOR remake. It sucks, man. They keep announcing these games like 3, 4, 5 years ahead of time, only for them to get canceled a year later. It's like, why did you even announce it in the first place? You personally would say he was a phenomenal singer. Interesting. I thought he was more of a rapper, like a hip-hop artist. Is he more of a melodic singer, vocalist kind of guy? And his freestyles are like 90% of his songs. Interesting. Yeah, I've never given him the time of day. I'll have to check out Juice WRLD. I will have to check out Juice WRLD. Man's got the juice. Sip the juice. I got enough to go around. And the thought takes place uptown. What you know about that Eric B and Rakim? Rakim, the classics. Let's see what YouTube's offering, man. Check out Legends Never Die album and Death Race for Love. Noted. I've actually got Spotify pulled up right here. Let me cue that up. So hold on. Legends Never Die, you said? Yeah, Legends Never Die and Death Race for Love. Is Death Race also an album, or is that a song? Juicy. Justice for Juicy. Juicy Smolier. Oh, I see that song. All Girls Are the Same. That's the second most popular one. All right, Legends Never Die. Cool. All right, I see them both. I got them queued up. I'll check them out tonight, man. I could always use new music. Yeah, both albums. Hell yeah. I think I have to poop. I shouldn't have gone live before pooping. I can feel one brewing right now. Just a fat shit. Oh, here's a good one. Tyrone Magnus is reacting to Joe Rogan having his eyes opened by the Charlie Kirk assassination. Let's see what Tyrone's got to say. Once I pull up Chrome here, give me a second. Uno momento, por favor. Por favor. There we go. What up, Magnusites? Can you hear this? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? Is my boy Tyrone coming through? Oh, nope. Desktop audio is definitely muted. You could not hear it. My bad. Check, 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 check. Microphone looks okay.
So, Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Here, I'm gonna pull up the stream on my main account. I'll be replying as Star Bazaar.
Messed up Joe Rogan and opened his eyes. So let's see what he had to say about it. And I tell you this, I already knew it was coming. As soon as I heard,
check. Talking over Tyrone just to see.
Here we go. Watch what people celebrate now.
Nice.
Talking
Sounds
trash,
good. All right,
making fun of him. That was before I even knew that he passed away from the shot.
Yeah.
I was like, watch, it's coming. Been on here since 2012, and I knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Tyrone's an old head. He's been around for a while.
That many.
He's one of the YouTube OGs.
That much mental illness that they would celebrate something like that. They say we have a mental illness epidemic.
We do.
It was put on display that day.
We're getting numb as a society for seeing people die.
Well, the Charlie Kirk thing opened up my eyes.
Yeah.
I never expected so many people would celebrate that man's murder.
That was wild.
That's
bizarre. It's just bizarre. Like,
it's Star Bazaar.
People that I think they're good people, and they think
that's crazy.
That guy was a bad guy.
I tell you,
and I don't think they're right.
The wildest thing about it, I was never a big Charlie Kirk fan before he passed away. And after he passed away, I spent like the next 24 hours watching his stuff and watching his clips. He was the most rational and friendly and open to discussion kind of guy that you could possibly have. Like, because I saw a bunch of right-wing personalities saying, like, you killed the nice guy. And I'm like, really? Like, is that actually who Charlie Kirk was? And after listening to him, like, yeah, they really did. They killed the guy who was willing to sit down, have a discussion, who was not judgmental, who was actually open to having a dialogue, a back and forth. And that's the guy that they took out. He wasn't even crazy.
Most of the time, crazy
the
people
act was
don't know
crazy. Exactly, yeah.
And I think
crazy people think they're sane.
I don't agree with everything that Charlie
You got to go for a sec, but you'll be back on your tablet. No worries, bro. Do what you got to do.
said.
I'll be here.
I don't care if he was a bad guy or not.
He's not a bad guy.
I don't want to see him.
He's not a bad guy at all.
First of all, he's your age, right?
Yeah.
He's a young guy.
And you go around saying that people are.
That's what's wild to me. He's younger than I am. He was younger than I am when he passed away, and he was out there doing. He was doing it. He was doing the thing, man. That's why it hit me so hard, because it's like, I don't agree with everything he says. I never have. But I have to recognize when he says something right. Like, that could be any one of us. It was so crazy to me after Jimmy Kimmel got fired, I guess technically would be the right term, but like he got reinstated pretty much right away. It was just so funny seeing everybody be like, we're all Jimmy Kimmel. We're all Jimmy Kimmel. It's like, motherfucker, we're all Charlie Kirk, bro. Like, any one of us could get shot for our opinions right now.
Fascists.
This is crazy.
And they're, the man with the short mustache and a Yahtzee and all this other stuff. It starts to.
I got called a Nazi in the comments section for even talking about it. When I uploaded that video to the Star Bazaar, like legit, there were a couple people who were in there like, you're supporting a Nazi sympathizer. That makes you a Nazi too. It's like, you guys are fucking retarded.
Dehumanize them in people's eyes. Same thing what people do with different races.
Yeah.
When they think lower of other races, they make people sound like they're animals, or they're subhuman, or they're not as smart, or they're not really people. It dehumanizes them in people's.
He was like, you mean he was the nice guy? Like, he really was the nice guy. He was the guy who was actually willing to sit down and have a conversation with you. Because I never watched him before. Like, his clips would come across my feed every now and again, and I would click on him and just see what he had to say. And I never had like a really bad impression of him. Like, to be honest with you, I always thought less of Steven Crowder. I was like half a fan of Crowder, I guess you could say, just because I didn't like the way Crowder presented himself a lot of the time. even when he said something right, it's like, okay, you're right, but you're being a dick about it. You know what I mean? And it's like, I never had that impression with Charlie. Charlie was always respectful. He was always compassionate. He always, even though he had his opinions, he made sure to draw that line and say that, look, I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking your beliefs. I'm attacking the ideas. I don't hate you as a person. I want to have this dialogue with you and actually get to the root of the problem. And that's the guy that they took out. It was, I didn't know that until I started looking into him. And like I said, that next 24 hours after he got taken out, I instantly became a Charlie Kirk fan. They took out the wrong guy.
Head, which makes it easier for them to do things just like that.
Right? And he would go around college campuses.
I don't want to say they took out the wrong guy as if to imply there's a right guy to take out. We should never act on political violence. We should never take out somebody just because we have a different political opinion from them. We should be able to keep it pushing. I just meant that when I said they took out the wrong guy, I just mean he was the dude who was actually willing to build a bridge and connect with the other side. He was the civil one. That's what I mean. They took out the guy who was actually willing to sit down and talk to you.
And have arguments with people, or have discussions with people, have debates with people. Yeah. But it infuriated people because
because he was right a lot of the
Guy
time.
is going against the progress that was being made in society. But what he did not feel.
He really was. He was really right a lot of the time. Like I said, I didn't agree with everything he said. I'm an atheist. He was a Christian. Anytime he had any belief or argument that was founded on a religious institution or a religious idea, or it was based on God and what God said, it's like, I can't agree with that because I don't believe in your God. Like, that means nothing to me. So I appreciated the fact that he would try to make secular arguments because that's how he can find common ground. But I mean, it's like, I didn't agree with everything he said. Doesn't mean I want the guy dead. It's fucking insane.
Like was progress. Like it was a progressive agenda that was being pushed in most college campuses. It's a leftist, Marxist sort of agenda. He didn't feel like that was the correct way to live, and he felt like he had arguments against it, and he wanted. And it was, it's a business too, right?
It is.
Like he developed this big social media platform because of it, and I don't, like I said, I don't agree.
See, I stopped watching Crowder a while ago after him and his crew did something.
See, I'm saying, man, like you've got Steven Crowder on one side who's like acting a fool. I'm not saying Crowder should get shot, like not at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they shot the guy who was actually willing to be respectful and talk to you. Not that Crowder isn't. I've seen Crowder's Change My Mind series. He will sit down and have a respectful conversation with you. It's just when he's on his own show. I think it's called the Steven Crowder Show. I could be wrong about that. I forget what his show is. It's been a long time since I've watched Crowder because I've just kind of not been a fan of his. I'm way more of a fan of Charlie Kirk than I am of Steven Crowder. So it's funny that Tyrone is bringing that up too. I think I'm on the right brainwave here.
However,
yeah,
I did see his video where he was talking about it, and he said he wished he had told Charlie why he stopped.
Yeah, no worries, bro. Take your time. I'm here.
Doing it. Because I remember when he was doing it. And he said he had stopped because of all the threats he had gotten. It just got to him.
Yeah.
And it got too dangerous. So he stopped and he wished he had told Charlie that. Because he might be here today. Or at least taking more precaution.
Right.
I don't think...
That's interesting because Crowder just put out the first Change My Mind in years. I don't know which college campus he went to, but his Change My Mind series was the political left is violent, Change My Mind, and he had a 2-parter. I watched a little bit of the first part today. I need to watch part 2. I don't know, man. Crowder isn't as engaging as Kirk. Every time somebody brought up a point against Crowder, it's like Crowder tried to deflect every single time and be like, oh, well, okay, this wasn't politically motivated, so I can't, say that this is the same thing as what happened to Charlie Kirk. And it's like, okay, but which standard are we going off of? Are we going off of the standard of which political affiliation the shooter has, or are we going based off of what the motive was? Because Crowder just seems very dismissive, whereas Charlie Kirk seems like he wants to have that open dialogue, and that's the difference in my mind.
Some of the things he said, he should have said.
I'm a bigger fan
the fact that
of
people
Kirk
are
for sure.
cheering when he died, normal people,
That was wild.
housewives, moms, like people work.
People you think are normal.
Exactly.
People disguised as normal people.
Working at banks, people working at.
The thing is, I think they are normal people. I think they've just been propagandized. They've been propagandized. They've been fed this lie that people on the other side of the political spectrum are your mortal enemy. And it's resulted in extreme action. It's not like it happened overnight either. This is the result of years and years and years of propagandizing and being told that the other side are Nazis, they are fascists, they want to dismantle democracy, they want to destroy the United States, they hate you, they hate people that you like. It's when they say they keep us divided, like that's what they mean. They, as in just the collective consciousness. I'm fighting through drunk thoughts right now, so forgive me. I'm scrambling for coherence. Cut me some slack. Carry on, Tyrone. Take it away.
Celebrating a man getting shot in front of his kids.
Wild.
Fucking
wild, dude. His wife and kids were there too. That is insane. Fucking wild.
The whole world.
That's evil.
What the fuck is wrong with us?
It's just really weird now.
It's really weird, and it's celebrated to hate people.
Yeah.
And that's the weird part. And most of us know that that's wrong. And that's why, like, when this Charlie Kirk thing happens, there's
the problem is if you don't know it's wrong, that's a major issue.
Giant blowback, and most people recognize, like, hey, as a collectively, as a society, this is not right. Regardless of whoever that person is, whether that person's on the left or the right, they just got shot in front of the whole world. It's not a thing to celebrate ever.
No.
Especially when you're seeing people on the left that are supposed to be progressives. This is supposed to
you know, like a dude that was having discussions with people, debating their views, and him hopefully getting them to see things his way, or them hopefully getting him to see things their way, or them coming to a stalemate, but with respect and without violence.
Right.
It's not like, the FBI all of a sudden found 30 bodies in his backyard and then someone assassinated him.
Couldn't be further
That
from
would
the
be a
truth.
whole different thing. He didn't have any bodies in his backyard. All he had was bodies on the debate stage because he was handing people's booties to him. He was pretty damn good at what he did.
He was.
But
be the kind, compassionate, inclusive people that are celebrating gun violence.
Yeah.
Public execution. Like, that's insane.
It would be kind of the same thing if, like, let's say a left-wing commentator, somebody like Destiny or Hassan Piker, went on a college campus. Like, if it happened to them, like, I would feel the exact same way. Because I don't agree with everything they say. If anything, politically, I'm closer to those guys than I am to somebody like Charlie Kirk. But even if it happened to them, it would be abhorrent. It'd be terrible. Nobody should be celebrating it, regardless of which political affiliation you have.
That's a public assassination. That's insane.
In HD. 1080p, 60 FPS.
And looking at the whole thing that he was for the Second Amendment, like a got you moment.
Right.
It's not a got you moment. It's not the got you think it is.
Yeah.
And it shows the sickness of this society that you would laugh at that.
We're getting numb as a society.
So let me know what you think about this. Hopefully you enjoyed my thoughts and opinion on this and what I had to say. And hit the like button, subscribe, and share.
Yes, sir.
We'll see y'all in the next video.
Later, Magnusites. Good shit. Always a hey, that's my video right there. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That's my video right there. Look at that. W. Always a W take from Tyrone Magnus. Let's see what else YouTube's got, man. Like I said, I'm in a weird mood today, so... Oh, Leaflet. I love Leaflet.
Debunking bad studies on political
Let's
violence.
watch
Okay,
Leaf
this is a
Lit.
good one because you hear this all the time.
Leaf is lit.
I'm sure you guys have all heard. Did you hear that? Right? That all of the political violence, like a majority of political violence is caused by the right wing. You hear this all the time.
No way.
So this is probably going to be about that. So it's going to be great.
Probably.
All right, here we go.
Egalitarians. Liberty and equality are mutually compatible, but it's clear from cases pitting free speech against equal protection under the civil rights regime that this is not true.
Hey internets, so in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's unfortunate assassination, the discussion has now shifted to a few different talking points as people kind of are still stuck processing just what happened and what it means. And the talking points I'm seeing are, first off, this additional bizarre set of arguments that are trying to claim that Tyler Robinson was some far-right groyper. The second I'm seeing is this extremely bad data cherry-picking combined with studies that utilize nonsense methodology being used to claim that political violence solely comes from the right, with a few also claiming that it solely comes from the left. And lastly...
They said it was like
Haters gonna hate.
Or some shit.
I'm not sober enough to respond to YouTube comments. I got somebody talking shit in my comment section on the Star Bazaar. I need to... Okay, this is my problem. Marshall, check that. This is my problem, bro. I need to not respond to comments when I'm drinking. That is bad news bears. If you ever become a YouTuber and you ever upload content and people talk shit in the comments, do not respond to it.
The third discussion is
do not do what I do. Do as I say, not as I do.
State of hypocrisy, where Republicans and Democrats will pretend to support free speech on principle, but they don't actually believe it.
Haters make me
They only
famous.
believe it when they are not the dominant political party, and then they suddenly stop believing about it and forget about it.
Bro called my content low effort, and it's hilarious because that video took more than a week to make. And he's calling it low effort. Like, what the fuck, bro? You're killing me here.
Very cringe indeed.
Yep.
Now, originally, I was going to go over some of these topics as separate videos this month, but then my illness kind of flared up, and that's why it's been longer than usual since I posted a new video. But on the bright side, as I was stuck just lying around with...
The third part is kind of interesting. That is kind of true. That, wasn't there a thing with, who was that? Was that Pam?
Pam Bondi
was being like very anti-free speech.
Oh, was she?
With nothing to do but thinking.
I don't know about that.
All three of these
I saw a lot of articles about Pam Bondi, but I never looked at them. I don't know what the fuck she said.
subjects are much more strong
If she's
and
against free
connected
speech,
than
fuck her.
most people realize, and actually would be better
With a
off
sandpaper
single video
dildo.
Going over the general problem of
Yeah, she's kinda
motivated
cringe.
reasoning that these talking points all share. But first of all, this video is sponsored by Private Internet Access. In a digital age, everyone needs security and
A
privacy.
beach vacation
Even if
for
you
your
think you
taste
are doing
buds.
nothing wrong, that will not stop bad actors from stealing your data and using it to take advantage of you. This is why having a VPN is a necessity. Whether it's from hackers, the surveillance state, or
I used to have a
copyright controls or
VPN.
whoever, Private Internet Access keeps your data safe by
What did I
using
have?
no
I think I
logs
had
and
a Express.
encryption so that
Which one's this?
outside observers can no longer spy on you. The app is also extremely easy to use, and they have an excellent
The
selection
Wrap?
of high-speed servers to choose from, which means that in addition to being great for security, this also makes it an excellent VPN for streaming services. Whether you're using Amazon Prime, Netflix, HBO Max, Hulu, or whatever, these services have an irritating habit of superficially limiting your choices of what you can watch based on your country. And by using Private Internet Access, you can use their app to change your IP, which enables you to then watch those things that are available in different countries. Or at the
That's
very
cool.
least, it's a heck of a lot less expensive than flying to them, or really any of the alternatives. Because another awesome thing about them is that Private Internet
I got some
Access is an
explosive burps
extremely
today, chat.
affordable VPN. And if you use my personal link in the description below, you can get it for 83% off at only $2.03 per month, and with 4 months free, covered with a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. Anyways, let's.
I appreciate Leaflet sitting through the ad.
Silly claims
I sat through Leaflet sitting through the ad.
that Tyler Robinson was somehow.
We gotta
right
support
or
the
some kind of
YouTubers, man.
groyper who was trying to pull. Claims that Tyler Robinson was some.
A groyper. I just found out what that meant. I had no idea what a groyper was until I looked into it. I guess it's just somebody who follows Nick Fuentes. Like Nick Fuentes' circle, online circle, I guess, are called groypers. I don't know.
somehow a right.
I'm not a big Nick Fuentes fan. I found Nick Fuentes randomly one day. I felt so bad because he said some unhinged shit that made me do a triple take. I'm like, wait, what the fuck did you just say? Like, it scared me because dude had some good ideas. He was saying some rational, good shit, and then he goes off the rails and says some unhinged shit right after that. I'm like, wait, am I listening to an actual racist like right now? Like, what the fuck? So I don't know what to think about Nick Fuentes. People say he's all right. People say he's misunderstood, and I kind of vibe with that because I get misunderstood a lot. So I try to have a little bit of like empathy around that and be like, okay, maybe I misunderstood him. But that first impression was really, really bad. I'm not gonna lie. What's happening here? What's Leaflet doing? Whoa. Did I just enter the Twilight Zone?
Propaganda.
Some kind of false
Propaganda.
Propaganda.
Propaganda of our nation. Propaganda.
But you will want to pay very close attention to some of the backwards reasoning
World
that some
government.
of the people use to try and claim
New World
to be
Order.
paranoid when we get to the bad faith data analysis. Because, spoiler alert, there are some similarities. But other than that, this one's pretty straightforward.
I'm just
even
being
very
stupid. I'm
left-wing
being
journalists
stupid.
from Vox
Me too. I'm
admit
fucking
that it is
not
very,
sober
very
right now, so I'm.
likely that Tyler Robinson
The
is a
definition is
liar.
stupid.
Because since my last video, a lot more information has come to light, and
Yeah.
with that information comes a lot more bad takes, which
Right.
does also come with the temptation.
Good, I
to
love
kind
bad
of
take. Let's-
ignore it and just
let's
again
shit on 'em.
Say that hey, any reasonable adult can just denounce political violence from all sides. Again, it is not hard.
I mean, a reasonable adult should be able to do that, but that seems to be a really tricky thing for a lot of adults.
Hard at all if you have a consistent moral philosophy. To
Yep.
say,
Exactly.
hey, murdering someone for something that they said
Is
a
not
very
good.
Wrong thing to do, whether it's coming from the left or the right, and just
Exactly.
that. However, I'm going to refute this anyway because I've noticed that this attempt to paint Tyler Robinson as right wing is really just an attempt.
It's a deflection. He's not right wing. He was the black sheep of his family. He comes from a traditionally religious, conservative Mormon family, but he himself, the shooter, the guy who killed Charlie Kirk, was not fundamentally religious conservative. He was the black sheep of his family. He was a left-wing extremist who got propagandized and believed that Charlie Kirk was an evil man, and so he killed him.
By the far left, to
He was a
downplay
left-wing
the
extremist.
issue and pretend like it doesn't matter. Which, aside from just being obviously intellectually dishonest, is also
It's
very
extreme
irresponsible.
intellectual
You may wonder,
dishonesty.
How successful have they been at convincing people that Tyler Robinson was a rightoid? Well, if you look at this YouGov survey, apparently they've been actually quite successful. At
That's
least from September 12th
scary.
to 19th. Maybe people have gained a bit more of a head on their shoulders on this. But it really does show just how well the propaganda
Man.
wagon has worked.
It's
With only
working, man.
32%
That this is how
of
propaganda
independents
works.
recognizing that the ideology behind Tyler Robinson was left-wing beliefs. Again, that's independence. which means that the
Propaganda
core
of our
core
nation.
elements have once again been successful.
System of a Down is primed in my head right now because of just the word propaganda.
Successfully gaslit. Because all of these attempts to paint Tyler Robinson as right wing are based on this one type of flawed reasoning, which is
Yeah, it's
thinking that
unhinged.
all evidence is equal. Thinking that you can just tally up things of, oh, this is a thing that Tyler Robinson did that suggests right-leaning beliefs, and oh, this is a thing that Tyler Robinson did that suggests left-leaning beliefs, and
Right.
if we can just find more things to tally up that say that he had right-wing beliefs, then that makes him right-wing.
Who's got more points at the end? That's his political affiliation.
Well, no, because the quality
Crazy.
of these things matters a lot more. There is such a thing as weak evidence and strong evidence
Peter Hunter says, I denounce political violence unless it's really funny.
for a certain position. So, for example, one bad take I've seen is that some
Fucked.
Redditoids have tried to claim that, oh, he was a groiper because groipers might partake in a false flag operation, or a groiper might do the strategy of acceleration. And of course, from that reasoning, they then argue that Tyler Robinson must be an accelerationist. And well, no, that's not actually correct. Simply proving that a possibility exists doesn't mean you've proven the thing that you're claiming to be true. And this
Right.
is just honestly kind of basic reasoning, basic Occam's razor here. You have to also consider how likely that probability is. And one simple way to see that that probability is very low is just realizing that based on this reasoning, everyone can be claimed to be a groiper. It's a
The Bella Chow thing found on the ammo casings is a Nick Fuentes thing? That's weird. I don't watch a lot of Nick Fuentes. I don't know if he's ever advocated or like said Bella Chow. from what I understand, it's a left-wing point of view. Like, all signs point to the fact that this guy was a left-wing extremist, but they're trying to rationalize it based off of his history and his family and make it sound like he's a right-winger when he's not. Like, he's not.
Completely unfalsifiable claim. Like, for example, is it possible that Vladimir Putin is an alien? Well, technically,
I guess.
it is, but only
Technically.
because it's
It's technically possible,
to
yeah.
completely rule that out. The actual chances that he's an alien are very, very, very comically low. It's
But he
just a
could be.
crackpot making a random unfalsifiable claim. Because you can't prove that he isn't an alien doesn't mean that he is an alien. Same problem here, just because
Sure.
we can't prove that he isn't a groiper trying to pull a false flag for
Doesn't mean that he
accelerationist
is.
reasons.
But see, he could be like 1,000 different kinds of aliens.
I guess.
So that's 1,000 possibilities
Ooh.
versus one possibility of him
Ooh.
being human. There's only one possibility that he's human.
Mm-hmm.
1,000 that he's an alien.
Fuck.
So
So
he
he's
must
clearly
be
an
an
alien. Must be. Must be true.
Anunnaki confirmed. That's right.
The Anunnaki confirmed. That's right.
Buy super beats.
Nephilim will
Buy super
rain
beats,
down
guys,
on the
buy
planet.
'em. Ah.
Well, that doesn't
Creatine, testosterone.
prove that he is. That's not
I fucking love Leaflet. Yo, shout out to you guys in the chat. I don't know who all's in here. I think it's Marshall and one other person, but whoever you are, man, I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in.
how the burden of proof works. It's not how honest reasoning works. That's just silly straw grasping. And of course, the time frame matters a lot more. For example, one of the things I covered in my previous video was the cope of, oh, he dressed up as Donald Trump back when he was a kid, therefore he must be a conservative, in contrast with evidence of
That
him
was
being
so
left-wing,
silly.
such as left.
I saw it the exact opposite. Like, the fact he dressed up as him made me feel like, oh yeah, he's making fun of him. Like, he's not a fan. He's not a fan. This is such a reach.
wings.
Also, isn't he? Hold on. Here's the thing I don't get. Everyone keeps saying this, that
Squatting
he was
like true
dressed up as
Slav.
Donald Trump, but isn't this him dressed up as him riding on Donald Trump like he's a donkey?
Yeah, like on his
Yeah,
shoulders and
like,
shit.
what?
Yeah.
Slogans being written on his ammo.
Just looking at that picture, it's implied that he's not a fan. To me, in my eyes, that's implied that he's not a fan of Donald Trump. But they were trying to use this as ammunition, be like, look, he's dressing up as Trump, so he's clearly a Trump fan, right? And it's like, I don't see it that way, personally.
During the time of the
I don't
shooting.
think anyone that respects Trump would wear that as a costume. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody who respects Trump
And
would
of course,
not
the
wear that
obvious
as a
issue
costume.
Josh,
100%.
thank you so
Those
much.
as
That's
equal
exactly what it
pieces
is.
Of evidence is they are completely ignoring the time element, because what Tyler Robinson believed at the
This
time
is
of
a
the
good
shooting
video.
probably
I don't
had
know who
much
made the
more
original one.
influence on what his motive for the shooting was than what he believed when he was a kid, and that's just kind of an obvious
The crazy thing is, guys, is like, man, that guy was not even in college that long.
The shooter?
qualitative fact.
Like
Oh,
parents really need to
yeah,
watch
yeah,
their
yeah,
kids.
yeah, yeah.
Holy fuck.
He was a young guy. I mean, like, to be fair, he was at that age where he was fresh out of high school. So it like, realistically, unless he did like some kind of running start program or something, he would not have been in college that long. Like, a year tops.
Mid-wittery, just kind of deliberately ignore. Just the obvious difference.
Fox News still ignoring the fact that Tyler Robinson is a MAGA Republican, yet everyone else has made the public knowledge, even sharing the Halloween costume of Tyler wearing Trump theme costume multiple times. Fox News still ignoring the... Oh, okay, I see. Oh, this is a Blue Sky account. Okay, never mind. It makes
Quality
sense.
of evidence and weight of evidence.
I've been drinking,
Like,
forgive
for
me.
example, if you're going to the grocery store, your incentive behind what you're going to buy at the grocery store is probably more influenced on the grocery store list that you wrote roughly 3 hours before going to the grocery store than it is influenced by whatever video game you decided to play back 7 years ago or so on some random rainy night.
That kiosk, I had a Toys R Us. There was a Toys R Us close to where I lived, and they had Mario Sunshine at one of those kiosks. This was years ago, mind you. It was a demo of Mario Sunshine, and I remember going to Toys R Us just to play Mario Sunshine. Because I didn't have a GameCube.
I remember though.
I remember this. You kids have no idea.
You weren't even thinking about groceries.
I don't know if this is
It's
a thing
actually
still.
kind of weird to me that I need to point this obvious fact out. It is a very
Had Wario, was it Super Wario World or something on it?
Okay, cool. It was Mario
Well,
Sunshine
back
for
to
me.
Psychology, that a person's actions are more motivated by their thoughts at the time of the action than being motivated by whatever their thoughts were at some random, arbitrarily chosen point in time in the past 5 to 10 years ago or whatever. So, same problem. They're making no attempt whatsoever to discern strong evidence from weak evidence.
Forgive me, chat. I have to piss like a racehorse. I will be right back. And I don't want to leave the video running and not react to it, you know? Have you guys ever seen Austin Powers? If you've seen Austin Powers, you know exactly how I feel right now. Evacuation complete. I appreciate you guys for waiting. Thank you. I'm sorry for those bangs.
When it comes to a qualitative factor like incentives and human action, evidence regarding what their beliefs and incentives were at the time of the action is...
Honestly, I'm gonna lean into that one day. No,
Do it.
It was like Super Mario World. I need to lean into that one day, and like my entire stream is just gonna be like a old lady giving advice to kids, like a grandma replacement. You know,
Hell
like,
yeah,
for
dude.
people
Grandma
that, like,
VTuber? That's
they're not, like,
sick.
close to their family, or they need like grandma advice. Yeah, it's gonna
That's
be,
the
like,
kind
my
of
stream,
perspective
like, in,
people
like,
need these
20
days.
years.
Yeah,
multiple
that's sick.
orders of magnitude stronger evidence for whatever their motivation was behind that action than some random crap that they were thinking about one afternoon back when they were in junior high school or whatever.
Did you guys hear that that's actually a thing in Japan? Did you guys hear about that?
No.
That's a real thing happening in Japan right now, where you can rent a grandma to be a VTuber for you. Like, so you pay money, a grandma controls a VTuber avatar, and a grandma gives you grandma advice. Yeah.
I'm actually into
Like,
that.
as in, like, they'll give you advice and tell you, like, whatever life advice you want.
Right.
Yeah, it's like...
It's a very attractive mind paired with a very attractive model. That's a winning recipe, in my opinion.
It's like rent a girlfriend, but it's rent a grandma.
And
Yeah.
it's even better, in my opinion.
That's wholesome and sad.
It's not even
Yeah.
sad. That's great. That's great. Why is that sad?
But
That's beautiful.
You know, thinking about it, like, is that really a bad thing for society?
It's
I
not.
don't
It's a
really know if it's
gorgeous
bad
thing. I love it.
Because I feel like a lot of people can probably use that.
Yes.
Especially, like, nowadays with a lot of people who... I don't know. People could use wisdom, you know?
100%.
It's very irrational.
That's a
to try and
great
present
thing. I
something
love
like
it.
That as some kind of counter evidence. It's not. It's very stupid. And then the same silly reasoning is put into the whole
Shows how fucked up the family structure is. It does. It really does, yeah.
whole claim of, oh, look, he seems to have liked guns, therefore he was a right.
A grandma
For
I'd like to
example, I
fuck.
still see some people using Adam Cochran's debunked posts where he says, oh, he used to go
A gilf.
shooting and hunting and fishing with his father, therefore he's a right-winger. Which of
Wrinkles
course is
rule.
ridiculous. I mean, first of all, it's not even a partisan thing. You can go hunting, shooting, fishing, or whatever, and still be either politically neutral, or you can even be left-wing and do those things. That's not necessarily a political activity. I mean, sure, on average, the people who tend to enjoy doing those things tend to be more likely to be Republican, but the actual activity itself is apolitical. And of course, it also just commits the error in reasoning I just mentioned. It does not matter that he used to go hunting and fishing as a kid, because his thoughts around the time that he went hunting and fishing as a kid, that probably happened anywhere from 8 to 15 years before the actual shooting of Charlie Kirk occurred, probably were not the same thoughts that he had banging around inside his noggin at the time of him committing his crime. That's what I mean. It's just honestly a very weird argument to make. Another one I see is people found out.
I can't zoom in on it, but somebody in Leaflet's chat said, MAGA, make grandmas great again.
That his parents, Matthew Carl Robinson and Amber Denise Robinson, are registered Republicans.
I guess it's MAGA.
Therefore, he must be a Republican. It's just association.
Yes, because a lot of these leftists do have Republican parents, so
that's how it goes, though.
Makes sense.
That's how it is. That's exactly the case.
In fact, this seems to be the new cope in lieu of a certain thing being debunked, which is the claim that Tyler Robinson himself was a registered Republican, which was actually just proven to be outright false. And so now things are shifted to like, oh, well, his parents are, therefore he must be, which actually proves very little. I mean, just statistics that show you political leanings by age category should show you that young people don't necessarily believe the same thing as their parents. That's just kind of an obvious thing you can point to that disproves that narrative right off the bat. But also it ignores another kind of obvious issue, which is the fact that difference in political views may have actually contributed to this attack. Because if Tyler Robinson's parents were very conservative and he was very left-leaning, then well, that would have driven a wedge between him and his family. And that would lead to resentment and loneliness and ostracization, which would of course be additional psychological factors behind why Tyler Robinson would commit such a horrible crime, which is just another basic, relatively well-known statistic. It has been shown many times that most convicted felons have—
Guys, I've been saying this for so long. The problem is dudes need a freaking mission in life. They need a mission. They need some kind of purpose. And when you don't give it to them, then they think that the Roro fight the power, and then they do terrorist shit because they think that that's the cause that they're willing to die for.
She's 100% correct. Men will drag their balls over 20 miles of broken glass for a purpose. We need a purpose. We need a reason to exist.
She's 100% right. Dudes or something that they're willing to die for.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what dudes want.
That's exactly what we want.
Have some
deep down.
Kind of family issues going on. So TLDR, the beliefs of his family proves nothing. Another weird cope is people still fixating on the fact that he was wearing a shirt.
I need to upload an actual thumbnail to this. I just realized that this is thumbnail-less. It's gonna be a black screen. Give me 2 seconds here, chat. Let me Oh, but I can't do it from here. Okay, never mind. We're just gonna roll with it. I take it back. Never mind.
That had an American flag. I kind of already went over this one again in my previous video. Wearing an American flag doesn't actually prove anything about one's political beliefs, but I still see this cope being thrown around a lot. And I think people are ignoring an obvious counter reason, which is that what a person wears during the time that they plan to commit a crime actually proves very little. So I mean, let's just pretend that wearing an American flag does in fact imply that you must be a right-winger. Again, it does not.
Right, I could rob a bank wearing Hello Kitty merch. Does that mean Hello Kitty made me rob the bank? I don't know if this is the right analogy, but you know what I mean?
Prove that.
Same thing.
For the sake of argument, let's live in a fantasy world where it does. Okay, but during a crime, does it prove that? Because the incentive when you are committing a crime, if you want to get away with that crime, which the fact that he hid from authorities for several days proves that Tyler Robinson absolutely wanted to get away with it. Well, what you're wearing just shows what you want to wear to try and fit in. So him wearing an American flag is just a way for him to go incognito. And the fact that he was wearing a hat along with some sunglasses to, further obfuscate his identity just further proves this. It's the same reason bank robbers tend to wear a mask instead of just going in there with their face showing. I mean, just imagine trying to make this exact same argument under that context. Oh, the bank robber was wearing a gorilla mask when he was doing his bank robbery, therefore the bank robber must secretly want to be a monkey. I mean, that's just kind of the low level of intuition.
That is the exact analogy I was trying to make with the Hello Kitty thing.
We're dealing with here. But anyway, the point here I'm trying to make is that all of the arguments for Tyler Robinson being a right-winger are just
God, I love those numbers. They're so well designed.
trying
The numbers.
The damage values?
With like the little drop shadow and stuff.
all of the
Oh, yeah.
arguments for
Those are some nice numbers.
Tyler Robinson being
That's right. Like, yeah, Leaflet's a game dev. She appreciates good work when she sees it.
a right-winger are just ignoring the obvious issue of that there being such a thing as a difference between strong evidence and weak evidence. So
Oh,
we're
I
seeing
see what
here
she
is
means
kind
with
of
the
a
drop
different
shadow,
form of the
yeah.
midwit nitpick fallacy, where
It just makes it
pseudo-directionals
pop a
think
little
that
bit
if they
more
can
on the
just find
screen.
enough tiny problems wrong with a thing, then that disproves the thing. And well, no, that's not how reasoning works. A bunch of things that have less than 1%
Isn't that like what Destiny did with like the fucking bullets? He was like, he didn't even shoot him with the catch fascist bullet. Like, bro.
Like it matters. The
chance of
fact it's
actually
on it
being
is
true,
the important
only
thing.
because they're completely unfalsifiable.
Like,
Well,
are you
all those
fucking
little pebbles
serious
do
right
not
now?
add
That's
up
like
to
your
a good
argument.
Simply pointing out how it's possible that he could
You're a liar because he didn't even shoot him with the catch fascist bullet. Like, bro.
Mhm.
be a Groiper based on just random
The fuck
conjecture
outta here.
doesn't prove that he is. And then of course you have the
I don't
standard
know,
mainstream
Tweaker.
media sleight of hand lies, like this one from
Anyways.
NBC. No evidence found yet of ties between Charlie Kirk shooting and left-wing groups. Okay, well, but that's not the same thing as his motives behind the attack. Simply not having tie to a specific
Do I
left-wing group
have-
does not disprove left-wing beliefs. That is not
I need to see if I have the lo-fi playlist. I don't think I have it on the... Oh, I do actually. Holy shit. Let's boost this. Turn me up a little bit louder, Bengineer, please. I'm actually going to drop myself for fear of staticking out, as I know I'm prone to do. At least on the main channel. I think it's because I have my sound card a little bit too hot. That's usually when I notice it happens. Because there was one stream where it happened 5 times in a row. That was
supposed to
bad
be the
news
same
bears.
thing. It is again just another nitpick. It is just more pedantically correct. It does not matter. Which then brings us to the next subject, which is people shifting the discussion away from Tyler Robinson to a more general claim where they're using very bad data cherry picking combined with some very bad
Everyone,
studies
dude,
to try
I've
and
seen so many people use this.
claim that political violence solely
Even Grok believes this shit.
comes
Oh,
from the
no.
right. But I've
And
also
if you
They
look
trick
at it
the
for
AI.
1 second, you see ADL, you're like, oh boy, here we go again.
I've seen a few people use some cherry picking to claim that it solely comes from the left, which honestly isn't true either. But the key issue here is that on a lot of these studies, the issue with their methodology is exactly the same issue as what I just went over with in terms of understanding why Tyler Robinson was most likely a left-winger. Because all of these studies that I've looked at commit the intellectual dishonesty sin of allowing very weak evidence to be used for saying that a incident was from the right.
I mean, all signs point to north. Or I guess all signs point to left. If I'm being real.
But demanding very strong evidence in order to say that an incident came.
Guys, I have an idea. I should flip it. Guys, do you think I should flip? Okay. See the notification? Should the notification be flipped? Should the Twitch notification be on the Kick side and then the Kick notification be on the Twitch side so that you guys can block each other? What do you guys think? What do you think, chat? Should I switch it? I originally had it on like the Twitch ones to be on the Twitch side, so it's like it came from Twitch. But do you think the PvP aspect is kind of funny?
Hi, puppy.
What do you guys think? Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Should I switch? Oh, I'm gonna switch it.
Welcome home, guys.
Okay. All right, there we go. I did it. I swapped them.
From the left. And immediately the rational
Roommates just got
sensation
in.
here is to just say that violence should be denounced from all sides. It doesn't matter who's doing it, it's bad either way. I'd like to still think that any rational, reasonable adult can just leave it at that. However, I've decided to go over these studies anyway because they're very bad, and thus they provide a very good example of why the saying goes that there are lies, damned lies, and then there's statistics. It's very easy to control for or add additional factors into your sample size in order to get statistics to say whatever you want them to say. And it's especially bad when it comes to politics and philosophy because a lot of times people will have ideologically motivated reasons to basically lie. And
Right. Why is Leaflet cracking up? I missed it. The joke went over my head.
That's actually so funny.
She's losing her
This is
shit.
especially true when you get down to vague discussions of right versus left. Because let's be honest, the political compass is a lot more complicated than that. And so before we get into the examples I'd like to cover, I'll just go over some
up down too.
problems you're going to run into when you try and get a study to say something like this.
Thank you,
First off,
Jess,
you
for
have
the
the
sub.
issue of
Thank you.
politically motivated murder versus politically motivated violence. And depending on what you're covering, well, that's just going to exclude a lot of data that really shouldn't be excluded. With one particular pattern I noticed is that all the studies that tried to claim that it was the left that was less violent, well, they all just conveniently tried to hyper-focus on fatalities only while ignoring greater property crimes and general political unrest.
Letting me know.
Gee, I wonder why they would do that. The reason behind that just completely eludes me.
He's holding the
Seriously,
teacup
though,
with his foot.
unfortunately,
Yeah, if Preacher pings me, it actually shows up. It's like a big red box that like shows up on my screen. So it helps me to see.
I wish I was joking here. Yes, a lot of these statistics completely ignore things like Antifa and BLM riots.
Thank you.
Imagine that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for 2 gifted. Thank you.
Because, you know, when they
Give us
include that
HP
data,
bars.
it doesn't give them the answer that they want. And then on top of that, you have just a general poor understanding of what constitutes right-wing or left-wing. For example, one of the studies I saw included things like incel ideology into right-wing political violence.
Insane thing to ignore there. Did I miss something? Yeah, let me back up on it.
Studies anyway because they're very bad, and thus they provide a very good example of why the saying goes that there are lies, damned lies, and then there's statistics.
Yep.
It's very easy to control for or add additional factors into your sample size.
The problem is a lot of the times when people's like ideology doesn't really track, they have to like use some statistics and they're like, oh well, the statistics say this, but then like a lot of the times it's just bullshit. It's like they basically found a way to like twist the numbers to like basically prove their point, right? So that they don't have to actually get into the philosophical argument
in order to get statistics to say whatever you want them to say. And it's especially bad when it comes to politics and philosophy because a lot of times people will have ideologically motivated reasons to basically lie. And this is especially true when you get down to vague discussions of right versus left. Because let's be honest, the political compass is a lot more complicated than that. And so before getting into the examples I'd like to cover, I'll just go over some general immediate problems you're going to run into when you try.
I guess I was trying to think of how that applies, like, because like statistics are a statistic, like you can't, but I guess the way that it applies is like you ignore some statistics. That's the best way to do it, is like you acknowledge some statistics but you ignore others, and I guess that's the only way you make it work.
Try and get a study to say something like this. First off, you have the issue of politically motivated murder versus politically motivated violence. And depending on what you're covering, well, that's just going to exclude a lot of data that really shouldn't be excluded.
I just think it's funny that I can barely say the word statistics. I have to think about it, bro.
With one particular pattern I noticed is that all the studies that tried to claim that it was the left that was less violent, well, they all just conveniently tried to hyper-focus on fatalities only, while ignoring property crimes and general political unrest. Gee, I wonder why they would do that. The reason behind that just completely eludes me. Okay, seriously though, unfortunately,
Fiery
I
but mostly peaceful
a lot of
protests.
these statistics completely ignore.
That was freaking ridiculous. Like the freaking.
Right. It's like, I guess you could say, if we're measuring political violence, right? Like that would be what we're measuring. But if you're only looking at fatalities, like it could skew some of the data, right? Because if you look at only fatalities, but you ignore violence, but where people survived, like you're overlooking a huge chunk of data. So okay. I'm not sober right now, so I'm trying to I'm trying to take this in. I'm trying to understand it. But I think I'm picking up what they're putting down.
The burning in the background.
Or things like Antifa and BLM riots. Because, you know, when they include that data, it doesn't give them the answer that they want. And then on top of that, you have just a general poor understanding of what constitutes right.
You think these people counted Rittenhouse for right-wing violence?
Probably.
I bet they would.
Wing
Yeah.
or left wing. For example, one of the studies I saw included things like incel ideology into right-wing political violence, which if you actually look into the incel community, you'll realize that they're actually more centrist, or in terms of economics, most of them are actually pretty left-leaning. So that's just another basic example of poor methodology. But it also highlights the issue here, where in a lot of these studies, you're going to see the same arguments as the arguments for Tyler Robinson.
That's why I asked for the studies, by the way. Sometimes when people, like, they cite some kind of study or some fact, I always ask for it.
And not being left-wing. It's kind of a garbage in, garbage out issue. If your data set doesn't give a fair distinction between what is left and what is right and what is strong evidence and what is weak evidence, well then you're going to end up with some amazingly meaningless data. Another problem is that a lot of these studies don't really account for things like investigation and reporting bias. And what I mean by this are things like just because journalists report on topic X, that doesn't necessarily mean that topic X actually happens more often. But I've seen some of these statistics not really take that into account, and they just assume that, oh hey, journalists are more likely to report on right-wing violence, therefore that type of violence is more likely to happen, which of course is completely invalid methodology. It doesn't account for the possibility that journalists just over-report on things that agree with their ideology. And another particularly malicious issue...
That's me on the main channel. All I make content on is Battlefront 2. Doesn't mean Battlefront 2 is popular. It just means I'm stuck in the niche.
I spotted was that some of these studies will actually give completely different rules to what is right-wing and what is left-wing. Such as with my earlier example with BLM riots not being counted, some of these studies will actually count the January 6th Capitol riot, but then not count the BLM and Antifa riots. Or
Yeah,
another
of
one is
course.
they'll count civil rights crimes against minorities as quote-unquote right-wing, which honestly ethno-nationalism, if you understand it, is more of a centrist authoritarian thing, not really right-wing, but I'll give it that one simply because that's how most people think of it, unfortunately. But then they won't treat crimes against white people in the same manner, and they won't count that as left-wing violence. So that's another big issue where some of these studies just intentionally do not apply the same logic to both sides, which is, you know, just pretty blatantly deceptive. And also, to be fair here, I did see a little bit of deception coming from the right as well. So for example, I saw one conservative counter study where they tried to claim that the left is way more violent based on the fact that convicts in the United States are more likely to vote for the Democrats than they are for the Republicans. And the problem with that is it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum of cooking the data. There's most of the time two ways to cook data and statistics to make them say what you want them to say, and that's to either increase the sample size in a way that doesn't make sense by making it way too broad, or by reducing the sample size to make it unrealistically small, and then editing your methodology either way. There are other ways to cook statistics, but most of the time when I see cooked data, it's someone engaging in one or the other. They're either including things into their sample that don't make sense for them to include.
The thing is like this doesn't only just apply to like politics, this also applies to like science as well. Which is why a lot of people are like, I don't know about that one, kind of bullshit, right? Because a lot of the times like scientists will do this too, to like kind of make their theories like more true by purposely like removing data or purposely like adding data. Oh, not adding data, but purposely ignoring data or redefining like their definition being like bad or having like a bad testing method. And
the thing about that is that every scientist wants to be the next Einstein, right? So I can understand it from the perspective of, oh, let's ignore the things that discredit what I'm saying. So I get it from that perspective, yeah. But the thing about science is that it's peer reviewed. So no matter what, it's like you've got people who are going to be discrediting you no matter what. So if your idea is flawed and they can demonstrate that it's flawed, it's going to get out that it's flawed. So that's why I'm always on the side of science. Usually it's peer reviewed, it's published. They make sure that the information is accurate because the model can't work if the information is inaccurate. And the scientific method is the only method that improves on itself. The whole goal of it is to get better at getting better. So I have a little bit more leeway with that.
And then they'll use it as like a cudgel basically to be like, well, you don't trust the science? And again, like this happened with like the tetra out the leg guy, right? Where he's like, my studies show that it's fine.
Yeah.
Or like you'll have like the
I mean, if it works, it works.
What's the name? The fats guy? The guy that was like, oh, like studies show like based on these countries that like there's a correlation between this substance and heart disease, and then it's like it completely ignores like countries that don't fit within the data.
Or they're excluding things into their sample.
But why don't they
should be
fit within the data?
Depending on what they want the data to
¿Por
say. So
qué?
they're just looking at the data
¿Por qué?
to support their conclusion, and then they publish that. And that's just kind
And then, by the way, and then the recommendation from that guy after was what actually caused even more heart disease. It was kind of crazy, actually.
Oh,
He
that's
did like
fucked.
the complete opposite of like
for the
truth.
basic reason why it's entirely rational to be skeptical of empirical data. And since the entire point of the discussion is in relation to what happened to Charlie Kirk, well, it doesn't really make sense to extend that to all convicts and just say, oh, they're more left-leaning, and therefore the left is more violent, because that doesn't really tell you anything in regards to their motive. Because what makes Charlie Kirk's assassination mean what it means is, of course, the motive. If he had just gotten robbed and murdered by some street thug stealing his wallet, well, that would still suck, and it would still be evil, and it would still be a tragedy. But then obviously that wouldn't have the same meaning behind it in comparison to Tyler Robinson's motives. And so I believe the reasonable set here, if we want to be honest and fair and compare apples to apples.
And I think that's why all that information around it is important, is because it like that provides the context to sort of understand the motive behind it.
Apples is to make sure you're focusing only on incidents that have some kind of political motive. But that's also kind of where you run into problems. To show you what I mean, let's dive into some actual examples now, starting with this one, which is this study by Reuters. Ideology behind 18 fatal political attacks identified by Reuters since the Capitol riot. Right-wing 13, not tied to partisan U.S. politics 4, left-wing 1. So this one, right off the bat, is just kind of an obvious example of very low sample size, which gives a dead giveaway that what they define as quote-unquote a political attack has probably been severely stripped down. Low sample sizes generally either indicate a lazy...
Sure, and I guess that's kind of relating to what I was saying earlier. It's like if you're looking at it, it depends on the lens you're looking at it through, right? Like if you're only looking at it through the lens of fatalities, if somebody still got attacked but nobody died, it's like you're completely discrediting all of that data. And I think that's what he's touching on here.
It's kind of like, was it when you have those cases where they'll count? So, for instance, like they'll say there have been this many mass shootings in like the United States, right?
Yeah.
But then you look into the definition of mass shooting, and it's
like 4 or more. I think.
Like 2 or 3 people get shot?
It's 4. I'm pretty sure it's 4,
and
including the
motive behind
shooter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like as in like.
As long as it's like, so the shooter himself, him or herself, can be included in that 4, but it's got to be at least 4. I believe 4 fatalities is what counts as the definition of a mass shooting. Because I recently looked it up, and I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I could be wrong. I think it's 4.
But
Yeah. Her chat is correcting me, is fact checking in real time.
When you think of a mass shooting, right? When you think of one, you think of a person going. What everyone is talking about is a person going to a place and randomly shooting it up.
Right.
Right. And true. It also includes the shooter. So the shooter, like,
including the shooter.
As well.
Yeah.
Right. So, but typically when we're thinking about mass shootings, like a lot of people are thinking of that specifically, like a person going to a place and shooting it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then they would count it as a mass shooting, even if like it was like a very specific targeted thing.
Right, and it's like you look at that term too, it's like mass shooting, and it sound like the word mass, I think, paints an image in people's minds, and it's like they think like 20, 30, 40, 50 people, when really it's like if you look at the textbook definition, it's really just 4, and that's what counts. And I think that's it. I'm not saying like that makes it any better, but it, you know what I'm trying to say.
Or like,
I'm not sober, Chad. Forgive me.
Even though it's not really the same thing in terms of like the definition is important there, right? Because when we're addressing like random psychos going to a place and shooting it up, it's not like the same thing.
Or a study with a very unreasonable methodology. Or in this case, just being blatantly dishonest. Because the study seems to be from August 2023, and so they're only really going over 2 years here. So that's a very narrow window. It's also a very suspicious window because the year before that, in 2020, we had something around 36 murders that could have been attributed to BLM. And yet they strangely start their study on the January 6th Capitol riot, simply so they don't have to count that. So that's another way to spot bad data, when it hyper-focuses on a very narrow date range.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Given why they would do that. So arbitrarily small sample size and arbitrarily small date range. That's 2 very big red flags before we even look at the data. But even within that,
I didn't even think about that. That's interesting.
The left-wing case they identified was Robert Tells. So that immediately tells you quite a lot. First off, the obvious issue is they're only looking at fatalities and not all property crimes, which doesn't really make much sense because it's absolutely possible for someone to destroy general property while having a political motivation behind that crime. That's again my biggest contention.
Yeah, like you remember.
Yes, fatalities are worse than no fatalities, but
like you remember the Tesla thing.
Yeah.
Freaking torching Teslas.
Fire!
In general, like burning someone's business down. Well, that's still
Picata
bad.
for
It's
my
still gonna
bunghole.
ruin someone's life. And it's still arguably political terrorism. But it's also not even correct because there were about 5 verified fatalities during these events during this time period. The catch, however, is that they don't really exhaustively investigate the motivations behind those fatalities in these events. And so there's a tendency by the people going over this data to give good faith to the rioters and assume that anybody who did anything wrong during the riot did not share in any ideology, as well as just other general weird excuses, again, similar to the weird excuses given for why Tyler Robinson wasn't left-wing. And this is so common that I can even just think of one example off the top of my head. The Manuel Terran incident, or Tortuguita as he's called. Now, this guy was killed by cops.
sailed to
However, the reason he
Tortuga.
was is because he shot at them first. He was angry that the officers were physically removing their encampment because, you know, they were occupying land that they didn't actually own. And so instead of leaving, he took out a handgun and fired 4 shots at the officers and even hit one of them. And so naturally they fired back.
Well-
Now, rightfully, in a case like this, it should be considered left-wing violence, even though it was his own death, because he was the one who escalated the aggressive conflict
Yeah, it's
into
true.
that of a fatal conflict.
Yeah.
But these studies don't count it. And so I decided to ask Grok about left-wing fatalities during protests and riots from January 2021.
And
Man.
this is the problem with like AI, by the way, and this goes both ways, obviously. This is the problem with AI is that AI can get this data wrong, and you have to look at the sources.
Yeah.
To August 2023. And what
I'm
Grok
an
claims is
old
that
head,
there were
man.
0
Like,
confirmed
I don't hate AI, but I don't trust it necessarily. You know what I mean? I'm too old school for that. Like, AI is not my first go-to if I'm trying to fact check something. I don't ask Grok. That's not my first go-to. You know what I mean? Like, I'll Wikipedia that shit before I grok it.
fatalities. Now, of course, Grok is not actually correct here. When you read deeper, you just see excuses for why the fatalities that happened at these incidents were not as a result of left-wing ideology. And just like there's weird excuses for the Tortuguita incident, there are, of course, on an individual case-by-case basis, very weird excuses for each of those incidents. And so when you really start to look at this data, you realize that these studies
She took the tablet? Bro, no. You lost the tablet. Return the slab. Go up to her and say, return the slab. Can I check out some of Juice WRLD stuff? Sure, I will. I won't be able to play it because I will immediately get hit with a copyright strike, but I will absolutely check it out in my own ear. I mean, I could even be playing it right now. Hold up. Let me pull up Spot. Actually, could I? No, that would actually show up on the stream. Yeah, after the video, I
don't
definitely
actually
will.
show that the right is more politically violent. What they actually show is a systemic issue where journalists and investigators try
I mean, it's not monetized, so it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, but I'd rather not get hit with the copyright. You know what I mean? Just, it's better if I don't.
to defend left-wing violence and do not count left-wing violence by not counting any violence as left-wing. A more common study that was being thrown around was one done by the Cato Institute, which is very unfortunate because Cato usually publishes good things.
Revenge! You got the computer instead. Nice, dude. That's sick. That's sick. Good trade.
Data, but in this instance they failed. This one was debunked at length by the Substack of Jennifer42, and the whole thing can really be summarized by this statement right here. As is the way with these pieces, a ham-fisted attempt
GG,
to justify
easy.
the exclusion of a great many acts of violence from the political left, while including many absolute
Nice.
absurdities in the right-wing column. And then the article just goes at length into many examples of this miscategorization. And then another example is the ADL study, which was used as the source for a lot of the mainstream media articles.
ADL classic.
About this issue.
What is that?
And yet when you look into it,
I don't even
it
know what
too
that is.
also has pretty much the exact same type of methodological errors, classifying things like prison gang violence or anti-government extremism as quote-unquote right-wing. It's also another one of the studies like the one I mentioned earlier that is clearly excluding a very big thing from their data. I wonder what it is they could be excluding here based on their claims that 2020 was one of the most peaceful years on record. I just can't put my finger on what they might be excluding
Oh
from this
man,
data. It's just
it was
somehow
definitely fiery but very peaceful. Yes.
Yes.
completely escaping me. And then of course it excludes a lot of left-wing violence for really weird reasons. Like, for instance, saying that the Luigi Mangione incident doesn't count as left-wing violence because it's not part of left-wing ideology. He just didn't like the healthcare system. That's politically neutral. But if you then look this up, if you ask Google or something, was Luigi Mangione a leftist, you'll find similar avoidant reasons. Various excuses to not look at it as an incident of left-wing violence, even though the ideology behind it is heavily supported by many leftists.
Okay, see, but this is exactly what I didn't like about Crowder, is that Crowder was so dismissive about every instance of right-wing political violence, too. He was like, well, okay, this wasn't an instance of right-wing political violence because it wasn't politically motivated. And it's like, but this is the exact same metric. And this is exactly why I wasn't a big fan of Crowder's segment. This is exactly what I was talking about before.
And of course, same problem. Doesn't count riots, doesn't count general...
Because he was making excuses for every single one. Because the girl he was talking to, like, she kept bringing up like case after case after case, and he was so fucking dismissive of it. He was like, okay, well, that one doesn't count, this one doesn't count, and that one doesn't count for this and this and this. And it's like, well, dude, what's the standard? Or is the standard the political affiliation, or is the standard the motive? Because there's two different standards being applied here.
Only counts left-wing political violence as left-wing if there's overwhelming evidence for it, while accepting even the tiniest, weakest bit of evidence for classifying it as right-wing. So once again, we see very obviously cooked data here. And really, in my opinion, I don't think it's really possible to get good data on this. Because what we're really seeing in all of these studies is that the idea of quote-unquote political violence is very poorly defined. And again, there's no real reason to expect that the people investigate...
And typically, like, these things... And that's kind of like why you hear a lot, like, when I talk to somebody, I ask for the definition. It's because it's really important. It's really important
it's
to have the
very
definition
important.
So we even know what we're talking about.
That was one of the biggest things I took away from atheist versus theist debates, was defining terms. You have to define terms, because if we're talking about two different things, we're not going to get to each other. We have to agree on what we're talking about. Because Matt Dillahunty, my favorite atheist spokesperson of all time, he said, if he pointed to a glass of water when he was talking to Jordan Peterson, he's like, if we're talking about this glass of water, but we're discussing two different things, we're not on the same page, and we can't have an honest discussion with each other. You have to define terms. It's so important.
The motives behind the violence are interested in labeling it as such. And so I believe a better way to look at it is to see how people think about political violence. Like, for example, this one right here, acceptability of being happy about an opponent's death. The people who think it's always or usually acceptable are mostly on the far left, and the people who say it's always or usually unacceptable are mostly people on the far right. Now, admittedly, this study was done on September 11, 2025, so it can be taken with a little bit of a grain of salt here. And of course, most people on the far left say that it is usually unacceptable, so there's some silver lining there, because it shows that most people are in fact reasonable about this sort of thing. But again, this kind of thing does call into question whether it's really the right that is entirely at fault for political violence, because based on people's beliefs, it's clearly not. And then there's another study that kind of looks at this from a rhetorical perspective, like this one right here. Strong liberals say it's morally acceptable to punch Nazis. And this, of course, is in relation to the typical far-left scam rhetoric, where they will basically get away with calling for political violence on a lot of big tech platforms and remain fully monetized, unlike right-wing channels, because they advocate for their violence in two steps, in a very nice and coordinated Mott and Bailey dance. They will first give reasons for why it is morally justifiable to punch Nazis and fascists and whatever, and of course those justifications are what happened in
Wait, you slammed your arm that you cut on a table on accident and did not... I mean, dude, you slice flesh. You know how when you prepare a steak, you salt and season it and you cut it? That's what happened to your arm, bro. I feel for you. Put some ice on that.
1900s Germany, but then they will falsely accuse everyone to the right of Obama of being a Nazi or fascist, including libertarians like myself, who strongly
put on a Band-Aid, man. Put some ice on that.
Germany ever did. And of course, when you call them out on this, they will retreat to the Mott and pretend like they don't know it.
Dude, this is like... I fucking love this thumbnail. Like, with the fucking mouth, like, the mouth warp.
The mouth
and
is
then
insane.
Just the Asmund at the bottom. It's like one of the best thumbnails. I love it.
Mentis
Exactly what they're doing
Wave.
with
Okay,
this kind of
okay. So
rhetoric,
that's who
which
we're
then brings me
watching.
to
I
the
didn't
final
know what the
thought,
channel
which
was.
is that the whole incident, the whole shebang, has also kind of
This is the problem with
reignited
YouTube
the
now,
age-old
man. It's a
discussion of
reaction to a
free speech.
reaction to a
And on this
reaction.
incident, I can absolutely understand where the Republicans are coming from.
There is no
Yes,
such
Jimmy
thing as
Kimmel
original
is
content.
a very stereotypical example of a annoying lefty midwit. He is absolutely one of those people where just about everything that comes out of his mouth is at best pedantically correct. And
Oh, dude, that's awesome to hear, man. I mean, not the fact that you felt like shit for the past week. That's bad to hear. But the fact that, you know, you can come here and chill and feel better about life. That's what we're here for, man. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad I can provide some relief from the woes of reality.
usually just
Life
flat
sucks,
out
bro.
wrong. And so to that degree, his firing
But life is
Adam's
great
face
too at
coming
the
back
same
once he
time, man.
finishes The Witcher.
just be
No,
seen as
I appreciate you. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I think it's just you and me are in here right now anyway, so cheers,
example
mate.
of physical removal. And of course,
Honestly, Asmund deserves a break.
He does.
He
of
really
course
does.
lefties
He works
whining
really
about
hard.
it comes across as obviously deeply unserious because a lot of the
I'm not gonna lie. He put out a video about everything that's been going on for the past week, and I don't think I could stomach it. I was thinking of watching it in this stream. I think I still might. I wasn't sure if I could stomach it earlier because he was talking about like he was talking about, you know, his dad passing, and it was just really bad. So I don't know. I didn't want to watch it before, but we might react to it later.
them are the exact same people who were praising big tech censorship of the right from roughly 2017 to 2024, honestly still to today, because they're still doing it, just in case you didn't know that. But anyways, it can definitely be seen as a classic case of people being insincere. Democrats supporting censorship when their preferred party is in power, and then suddenly being
I'm saying, man, one stabs you in the front, the other stabs you in the back.
against censorship when their party is not in power, or Republicans doing the same thing. It's pretty easy to look at this and just say it's hypocrisy and move on. But I think there's a lot more to it than that. Because in my opinion, being a imagine if the roles are reversed cuck is not a good thing to be. Knowing the history of the Republican and Democratic Party, I sincerely doubt that whether or not the Republicans are censoring left-wingers online is going to have any impact on whether or not Democrats will do the same thing once they're back in power. I mean, let's just be honest, they're probably going to do it again anyway, no matter what. And so on that note, I'd like to once again point out the libertarian principle position.
It's funny because I'm Turkish too. But I don't got to worry about this. So. Oh god, that's good.
Which is that physical removal from a private property standpoint is really
Just
the true
from
sensible
Turk to
take on
Turk,
freedom
it's
of speech. Speech is not a
it's
reason to
it's
go
a
out
different
and murder
different
somebody.
thing.
That's just pretty much always wrong. Unless they're using speech
Habibi.
to directly threaten
Nah, bad
aggression,
lad.
you can't really make
Nah,
a very
pion.
good argument against freedom of speech. However,
Yeah.
you can make an argument for why you don't want a person saying certain things on your own property. Someone being kicked out of a party, for instance, for saying some stupid stuff.
This is basically a
Tell them fuck what you heard cuz it ain't the truth. That's the mentality you got to have, bro.
association.
They probably shouldn't have said, well, that's just property rights being taken to their logical conclusion. And so thus, the principal position on the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing is that the FCC should be abolished. Jimmy Kimmel being
I
fired-
heard the FCC chairman is going to be testifying before Congress because of all that shit. Now, I wasn't a big fan of what Kimmel said, but I am a full-on supporter of free speech in the United States. And even if he spread misinformation, I support his right to say it. Therefore, I am very happy that the FCC chairman is being, you know, held accountable to his shit, because I was not a fan of that.
private
at all.
business for saying stupid crap is perfectly fine. But of course, the mainstream media isn't really a private organization. It's kind of private in name only due to how much government involvement is with these corporations and how much
Right.
government regulation is involved. And so the correct
Yeah.
answer is thus that all of the government involvement should be removed. Scrap all of the subsidies,
That's-
privatize any necessary functions of the
Yeah.
FCC, and then get rid of all the rest. And those of us on the libertarian
I like
right
that,
have
yeah.
recently been vindicated on this statement, because it's been proven that a lot of the big tech censorship that took place in previous years, like that on Facebook and Google, was in fact just government agents screaming to have their way. And so that's
Yep.
what really needs to happen. Now, of course,
This
that
is
doesn't
why I'll say it again. I'm not a big fan of the government.
Same, bro. Same.
I'm not a big fan of the government.
Mean
you know what I
agree with
mean?
any kind of online censorship or agree with when private companies that are very large decide to censor somebody. You can absolutely criticize.
Man, I definitely went through a libertarian phase at one point. I went through a libertarian phase, and then I found out what they actually believe about child labor, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe you guys are kind of fucked up.
Because believing in someone's right to do a thing doesn't necessarily mean you believe that that is a good thing for them to do. But it's important for people to understand that the government involvement in this has been proven to be the main culprit behind all.
Dude, this game is anime as fuck. Like, what am I watching?
I've been wondering the same thing this entire time. I'm like, what game is this? I don't even know what this is. It looks cool. It looks like Final Fantasy or something. I actually thought that player character was Cloud, and then I looked up in the top left. It's Mab Sitnem.
Of the FCC or
I don't know what the fuck this is, but it looks like Final Fantasy.
On the it's a private platform argument. They don't want to get.
They're gonna cry about it and be like, "Oh my god, but my free speech," and then like
my girl Destiny.
They're gonna do the same thing. And to be fair, I mean, this isn't just them. You know, this also happens with like, you know, I mean, you saw the thing with Pam Bondi, right? It's like the same thing. There's
any of the government power structures or bureaucracy at the heart of the problem. And so that's how you know that it is once again an example of the grift of them pretending to be libertarians and pretending to have libertarian views that they obviously do not actually believe. None of them want
it's totally fair to be like, I don't want to fucking hear it from you guys. Like when they complain about like, oh, but my free speech, like I don't want to fucking hear it. Dude, they should totally. Dude.
Wait, what does this tweet say? Call me crazy, but I thought the major violation of free speech last week was when the free speech guy got shot in the neck for promoting. Oh, okay. He was talking about Charlie Kirk. With terrible ratings, getting fired. Interesting.
Dude, guys, they should totally go to like gay and trans bakeries. And like ask them to bake them like a Charlie Kirk was right about LGBT cake. They should tell them to like bake a cake like that. See if they'll do it.
I feel like they would.
And then they should sue them when they.
I feel like they would. Gay people are super fucking cool. They'd be like, "Fuck yeah, we'll do that."
They don't.
Why not? Just to stick it to the man.
They're just mad that it's Trump's administration that is currently in charge of it. That's all. That's how you know they don't actually believe it. And that's why their whining should not be taken seriously. Anyways, that's all I have to say on this subject. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And
what was it, Mentis Wave?
Do so on Ko-Fi, subscribe,
I've seen this guy before, but I don't think it's it's so weird. I think I've only seen him in reactions, but I've never actually watched like his own video. So I've reacted to reacts of his shit, but never his own shit.
Still going, mainly because I just haven't been feeling good enough to change it. But anyway,
it's his not logo, like his avatar, that the eyeball in the dude, words are not coming easy right now. The eyeball in the looking glass.
That is all.
I've seen that before.
Another banger. I like Mentis's logic actually. I'm like a big fan.
It was a good video. It was a really, really good video. I was surprised. I didn't expect to sit through the whole thing, but it kept me engaged. I'm a fan.
No, don't know Mentis. I'll link you guys. He does a lot of videos like this from the libertarian point of view.
See, and that's what I'm trying to do with this channel. Like, I'm trying to actually do what he's doing. That's really interesting. Okay. I think I need to subscribe to Mentis and take some notes. I'll do my homework. And that's the end of Luther. I like that anime outro that she's got. It's not your traditional the montage, the beach day montage with the slow acoustic jam. Talking about how good of friends we are. Beach day, eating ice cream. No, that was good. Oh, I see it. Auto played the Hill video. No, W leaflet, W Mentis wave. I think that was it. I was meaning to watch this earlier. This is the Jimmy. I haven't watched.
So do you see this?
Jimmy Dore in a
So this
long
is the
time.
latest theory. So now, because the FBI and the
Long
government and the
time.
media are
Long
lying
time.
about the Charlie Kirk assassination, it
Uh-huh.
lends itself to many
Whoa, my shit is freaking out right now. Hold up. Possessed by Pazuzu
different
himself.
theories. There was a theory the guy had a
Exorcisamos
palm gun.
te spiritus
There's a
hominis
theory that
satanica
his
potestas.
microphone was rigged somehow to explode. There was a theory that a guy with a cell phone gun. There's lots of different.
Your grammar sucks too. You corrected yourself above because of how bad. I mean, my vocal mechanisms just aren't working right
Theories.
now.
Here's the latest theory.
In
Now, I'm not-
general,
I saw some people report
Neither are
that
my
Jimmy
mental
Dore is pushing
faculties.
this theory. I'm reporting these theories. I'm not saying anyone is true. I'm saying that some of them are compelling. Every theory I've heard by the way is compelling. They're compelling. So I'm not saying they're
Very
true. I'm saying that
compelling.
we should have a real investigation. And not break down the crime scene immediately afterwards. Maybe they should have secured the crime scene, which they didn't. And so you see this? That's it looks like a camera, but it's a gun.
Nani?
You see that?
Oh, that's the one they got that mobster with back in the day.
So
The Italian-American club guy, he got shot with a fake camera gun by a black guy. Remember that?
no, I don't remember that, but this is what it looks like. And so they're saying that a guy who was behind Charlie Kirk.
There he is. Oh, you can see. Is that
So,
Charlie
no,
right
I'll-
here in the foreground?
I'll show you. So this is Charlie, and I'm going to show you the guy. So watch what they're saying.
Ouch,
Here,
Charlie,
so
Charlie,
definitely,
baby.
because of the way his head goes, everybody's saying the bullet had to come from this way. It had to have. That's what people are saying. I don't know. I'm not a ballistics expert.
Dude, this is
but
okay.
he
This
did
is
go
the
this way.
conspiracy,
He didn't
the
go this
tinfoil
way.
hat section
He
of the
didn't go that
stream.
way. He didn't go forward. He went that way. He went to the left.
Ooh, we're breaking it down.
So you would think he got shot from this side. That's what you would think. So let's see. I still haven't seen the video from the camera. There's supposed to be a camera behind him. Why can't we
guess.
see that video?
Why?
But here, so watch this. Watch this close. So there's a guy holding one of these. That's what this video is claiming. There's a guy holding one of these. And you see the bullet come out. So that's what that was. You saw the bullet come out.
Hold on.
And-
repete por favor.
But here, so
Por
watch
favor.
this. Watch this close. So there's a guy holding one of these. That's what this video is claiming. There's a guy holding one of these.
Very convenient that it's blurred out.
And you see the bullet come out. So that's what that was. You saw the bullet come out. And
It's blurred out though. I can't see it.
they're saying this is the guy right here. So he gives the hand signal. This guy comes out from behind. Watch the.
Wait, what the fuck am I watching? Hold on. Wait, what?
So you would think he got shot.
Dude, has Jimmy Dore gone off the deep end? I used to be a big fan of this guy. This guy actually had some really solid reporting, but I feel like he's gone full Alex Jones now. This is all like borderline Alex Jones
From
material.
this side. That's what you would think. So let's see. I still haven't seen the video from the camera. There's supposed to be a camera behind him. Why can't we see that video? But here, so watch this. Watch this close.
Sure.
So there's a guy holding one of these. That's what this video is
Allegedly.
claiming. There's a guy
Yeah,
holding one of
allegedly,
these.
I guess. I can't see it, but I guess.
And you see the bullet come out. So that's what that was. You saw the bullet come out.
I didn't see shit.
And they're saying this is the guy right here. So he gives the hand signal. This guy comes out from behind. Watch this. So there's the guy. So they're saying that guy took the shot, and then he immediately walks backwards. Watch this.
And he walks away like nothing fucking
So there he
happens.
is. These two guys working together. He just walks away like nothing. He wasn't like freaked out. He walks away like he just did something. Again, I'm not saying this is how it happened. I'm saying this is compelling and that people should look into all these theories.
Okay. This is great. No. This is great.
So there's the shot, and here's the guy. Does the guy look? Does he look freaked out? Does he look weirded out? Does he look? So there's the shot, and here's the guy. Does the guy look? Does he look freaked out? Does he look weirded out? Does he look like he just witnessed an assassination? No, he looks like he's calmly walking backwards.
And then he joins the group.
Let's watch it again. So you see the bullet.
I mean, okay, I don't like the fact it's blurred out. If it weren't blurred out, I would probably have a different opinion, but I can't see it. Like, it's showing an image of what it's alleging it to be, but it's actually blurring out the thing, so I can't. This is silly. This is silly.
So you see that little?
I
that
like
little
Jimmy,
flash?
but this
That's
is
the bullet.
silliness.
And here's the guy right here. They say he's got
guess.
one of these guns, and it certainly looks like he might.
Yeah, maybe, but probably not. Let's be real.
Why would he act? Why would he keep the camera like that? Why would he keep it like that and walk backwards?
To get the shot?
Why would he walk backward? Why would he keep it? He did. Like you would. That's not how I wouldn't imagine that's how a person would react if they just watched the shooting 5 feet in front of them. They would keep their camera at waist high and walk backwards like this, like it.
This is a Stretch McArmstrong reach. I'll be real.
Because that's how he's holding it, like it's a gun.
The specific angle doesn't do it any justice.
Hang on.
Why is it blurred?
There's the guy.
Uh-huh.
So the shot went off. You saw that guy flinch, but he doesn't flinch at all. He doesn't flinch at all. Isn't that weird? He doesn't flinch at all.
Kind of did
This
a
guy
little bit. I
flinched,
saw him twitch a little bit.
but he doesn't. There's the guy. So the shot went off. You saw that guy flinch, but he doesn't flinch.
Okay, but if he took the shot, wouldn't you expect some recoil? You would expect the camera to maybe go boom. Like, that was a very smooth shot. I'm calling cap. This sounds like bullshit to me. I'm smelling some bullshit.
At all. He doesn't flinch at all.
This is
Isn't
a
that weird?
Stretch
He doesn't flinch at
McArmstrong
all.
reach with
This
zero
guy
evidence,
flinched.
and the alleged evidence that he has is blurred the fuck out. I'm calling cap.
And then he walks backwards.
And he turns and he walks away from a crime scene.
He's not
running.
Why wouldn't he continue to take pictures of a crime scene?
Because somebody just got shot, and he's not trying to get shot. That's why.
Why wouldn't he still take pictures? Why would he?
Because he doesn't want to get
backwards. He
shot.
doesn't
That's
turn
why.
around
This
and
is
run and get the hell out of there. He
Okay,
walks
okay,
back
Jimmy, I
really
love you, but this is
suspicious-like.
stupid. I'm going. Bye bye. Let's find something else. This is Jimmy Dore latest compelling theory. I miss his show, bro. I feel like ever since Kurt became a mainstay, it kind of went downhill. Kurt has got some zingers, but I miss when it was just the Jimmy Dore show. I can barely speak right now, bro. These tall boys are something else. I downed that. Do I have any more of the beer hug? I got a little bit more of the beer hug left. That's all it takes, man. $8 gets me flying. Ooh. I'm into this shit.
And then you get to a spot where
destroy it,
God,
Matt.
who's been demanding that we slaughter animals and burn them because he likes barbecue,
I guess. I like
is
barbecue
now decided that he's going to come down and take human form and sacrifice himself to himself for a weekend to fix everything for everybody.
Sounds fun. That's a really good story.
That's blood magic. That is sacrificial blood magic thinking and nothing to do about human value.
Cool. This is exactly what
why
I'm
you
here
care
for.
about that standard, just like you don't have an objective reason.
This is Matt Dillahunty shreds Christians' absurd religious logic. I didn't know we were going to do the God
If there
thing
was a God,
tonight,
he
but
should
I
come
guess
along and kind of
that's what's up.
clarify all this. I would think that would be a duty. But the beautiful story that you're talking about, where the most
I just
powerful
saw it
being
and it
comes
looked
down and
interesting,
becomes a
so I
cell,
clicked
becomes
on it.
one of the weak, one of the fallen, in order to save them. That's
Yeah,
an
blood
incredibly
magic,
nice
what the
way
fuck?
to package it. But that's, I have, I guess, a completely different take on it, because the story is a little different. The story starts in Genesis, where God creates everybody, and then it all screws up, and then he tries to fix it, and it screws up, and he tries to fix it, and it screws up. It's this parade, it's this comedy of errors. And then you get to a spot where God, who's been demanding that we slaughter animals and burn them because he likes barbecue,
Again, I
is
like
now
barbecue too.
decided that he's going to come down and take human form and sacrifice himself to himself for a weekend to fix everything for everybody.
I mean, the thing about animal sacrifice, like that was done throughout a lot of different cultures way back then. Like animal sacrifice is not necessarily exclusive to early Judeo-Christian belief. There were a lot of cultures that did it. I mean, sacrifice in general was just a thing way back then. Like think to different deities like Moloch, right? Like they would do different human sacrifice rituals to Moloch and shit like that. It was crazy 5,000 years ago, bro. It was wild out there.
That's blood magic. That is sacrificial blood magic thinking, and nothing to do about human value.
Who actually believes that? What you just described as a summary of Christianity? Who actually believes?
How could you not?
Wait,
did God come down and become human,
God
sacrifice
the Son, as I
himself?
Said, God the Son became God our brother.
He's still God.
That's one of the things that always confused me about the Trinity. It's like it's all God at the end of the day, but it's also God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. It's like, so wait, you're telling me there's 3 different gods or there's only one God? Like that part legit always confused me. I kind of rationalized it in that it's one deity that appears in 3 different forms. That's what I understand it to be.
God the Son became God our brother, right? But the Son.
Are you a non-Trinitarian? Sorry.
That's precisely because I'm Trinitarian. God the Son,
right,
became God our brother, full of the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
In order to unite us as family back to the same source.
Let me read this description real quick. I don't know who this is. Matt Dillahunty takes center stage in a heated debate where a Christian, doesn't name the guy, tries to defend their faith using flawed reasoning, and the result is brutal. I wish it named the guy, and I wish it named the show that this was from.
Back to the Father.
Well,
Okay,
the big conversation.
Did God not sacrifice himself?
The Father sent the Son.
But they're the same.
They're not the same. They're
part of the Trinity.
Yeah, they are definitely.
They are one, right?
They are definitely part of the Trinity.
Are they one, though?
They're united, absolutely. The Father, Son, and Spirit.
United. I mean, we're united at a table, but we're not one.
The Father is in the Son, and the Son is in the Father, so that they are united on a level that is far superior to ours.
Why does it need to be a blood sacrifice?
That's weird, bro.
Well, because to walk away from God, to be disconnected from life, means death, right? And in the Bible, the life is in the blood.
Well, who made that rule?
It's the nature of the case, don't you think? If God is life, God is a source of life.
Couldn't God have done it differently?
Well, if God is the source of life and we reject life, what does that leave us with? Death. If God wants to unite with us in our death, what will he have to take on? Our death.
So you're talking, first of all, you're speaking kind of metaphorically here, because I'm not rejecting life. I'm rejecting a proposition that there's some eternal life.
Hold on.
Because I don't see sufficient evidence for it. If there is, cool.
This is an hour-long video, I just realized. I'm probably not going to sit through this whole thing.
This notion, why does there need to be a blood sacrifice at all? At some point, we were running around killing animals and doing it.
And this is actually several different clips. Like, this is Matt just speaking by himself. Oh, that's Matt against Cliff? Is that his name? I've seen this. Okay, the face is totally familiar, but I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. Yeah, holy shit. I'm actually going to fast forward to that. That sounds way more interesting than this. Hold up. Let's find the, yeah. Perfect.
And right now, the only thing we can agree on is this. We're human. We want to suffer less, and we're better off when we treat each other with dignity and care.
You both think or believe will happen after you die?
I imagine my wife will get married to somebody else, and actually, she's going to run off with a friend of hers and have a whole bunch of cats. Oh, you mean what's going to happen to me? I don't know. I don't see any reason to think that anything's going to happen to me. Everything that makes me me, everything that we have historically and religiously attributed to a soul that can be identified.
I'm going to double time this.
A place has a place in the brain. My personality's in my brain. We know from experience of people who suffer
I'm
also brain
actually
damage.
going to 1.5 it.
Memories,
Double time is
make
too
new
fast.
memories. I'm going to get the name wrong. Vishwanathan.
Same. Exactly.
Did a talk at one of the religion summits about a split brain patient. And hysterectomy. And can communicate with both halves. And each half has a separate personality and a separate identity and communicates independently.
Right.
One half, Christian. The other half, atheist. Now, I guess you could argue that when we split that brain in half, there was only enough soul for one side, and the other side just got, shafted. But everything we know about what makes us, our likes, our preferences,
I can't
our desires,
do it. I'm sorry.
They're all
We're going to do normal speed.
product of the brain. A lot of theists would say that there's a soul behind it all. There's a
Define rejecting life? I don't know. I remember them talking about it, but rejecting life, I guess, would be embracing death. Because what's the opposite of rejecting life? Would be embracing death. Or that's not even the opposite. That's what it is. You reject life, you embrace death. I guess. I don't know.
But master, the ghost in the machine. And yet there's no evidence to support this. And it doesn't make sense in the model. If I suffer severe brain damage and all of a sudden...
Because reject life, that's a self-defeating thing. As a living organism, to reject life would be to reject myself. I'm not sober enough for this kind of philosophical thinking. I'll be real with you.
I don't remember the past. I don't remember that I love my wife. I don't like the same foods. I don't want to interact with the same people.
I like food.
And now all of a sudden I believe in God. Am I the same person? I don't think so. Haven't we really kind of ended up with a whole new person? I have an argument that I use partially as a joke. It's an argument that demonstrates, according to some traditions, nobody's in heaven. And it's really easy. In heaven, there's no suffering and no sadness, according to some traditions.
I could take it a step further there. Define a person. Because you could take a brain that believes one set of beliefs. I don't necessarily believe in like brainwashing in the sci-fi kind of sense. I think you can rewire a brain, obviously, through habit and years of repetition, but to say that like a brain that changes one way of thinking to another is a different person, I don't necessarily agree with that. Like you would have to define what a person is at that point, because it's still the same brain, but just because it thinks a different way doesn't necessarily change what the person is, in my opinion. Because I'm almost making the case that the person is the body in this case, because it's a brain inside of a body. That's the person. Just because the brain thinks differently doesn't necessarily change the person. So I might be looking way too deep into this, but that's my argument.
My mom's convinced she's going to heaven. She's convinced I'm going to hell. Now, I don't know who's going to end up in heaven, but it won't be my mom. There's no way my mom could be up in heaven, not suffering and not sad that her son is in hell. And if God does some kind of magic to take that out of her, it's not my mom anymore. It's a facsimile of my mom. Some kind of robotic worshiping.
But there's no body in that sense. So he's talking about it in the spiritual sense.
Vehemently on religious stuff, so much so we don't talk about it anymore because we love each other. We'd like.
He's talking about it on the metaphysical sense.
Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever religious holiday drives me up there to visit and hang out. By the way, we celebrate Christmas. Have a big white tree with peppermint and stuff on it. It's awesome. Entirely secular stuff. We're stealing it back because Christianity stole most of those things from other religions. But and he
just gotta slide that in there,
eggs and candy because I'm diabetic. But everything that we know about us takes place in our brain. The brain gets damaged. Are you the same person? I don't know. The math on souls is confusing. Sam Harris has talked about the math on souls for people who believe that zygotes get a soul.
That's an interesting
the
point.
embryo
If the brain gets
split and then we get to go. So when it splits,
damaged.
does it have two souls? And then when it comes back together, does it just have one? Or now do we have a body with two souls? Or do we not put a soul?
That's so weird. So it's like, is a person defined by the individual and its own parts, or is it defined by the people around them that recognize them as a person? Right? Because you can have family members that know you for who you are, but if you yourself suffer brain damage, for example, and then you become somebody completely different from who you were, you might be changed, but everybody else around you still sees you as the exact same person, you know? That's actually really interesting.
Until afterwards, or does it happen when he breathes the first breath, as the Jews believe? It doesn't make any sense. The math on souls doesn't make sense. The science on souls doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to think that there's some kind of ghost dictating what goes on in my brain. We haven't even gotten into free will. Book keeps asserting that we have it. I'm not convinced we do, at least not in the sense that he's talking about. I don't know what's going to happen to me when I'm dead.
Me neither.
I'm pretty sure my body's going to rot, my brain's going to stop working, and I will cease to exist.
That is most
And it
likely
didn't bother
what
me
happens.
before I was alive, so I don't see what bothered me afterwards.
When Matt says everything we are, our thoughts, memories, personality, comes from the brain.
There's no God. There's no life after death. If there is no God, you are matter and energy.
This
And
is
when
the
you die,
thing I was trying to
matter
get
and
to
energy
earlier. I just
fall
realized
apart.
that what we were
So
watching
let's
was
not act like
a rant.
maybe there's life after death. No.
And I'm still drawing a
That's
blank on this
illogical.
guy's name.
If there is no God,
It's
when you
Cliff
die,
something. I'm
when I
forgetting.
die, we become fertilizer. Very logical, very
Makes
reasonable.
sense. Yes.
But you know what the problem is?
Fertilizer.
Problem is that I've got to do funerals for families that are atheist or agnostic. Inevitably, what happens to me is I'm standing there and they're coming up to me saying, well, you know, maybe the Great Spirit, excuse me, Great Spirit, what are you talking about? If there is no God, there's no spirit.
Hey, what up, Quentin?
There's matter.
Bro, my bad. I completely spaced. I wasn't looking at chat. I was wrapped up in thoughts. How you doing, bro? Sounds like some Nomura Organization 13 bullshit going on, bro. Fact, 100%. We were playing Kingdom Hearts yesterday, so it's fresh on the brain, you know? You don't plan on staying long. Got to wake up and work out at 4. Right on, man. Well, either way, I appreciate you stopping by. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be streaming for. I needed to go live on this channel.
And energy. And when we die, the matter and energy falls apart. Now, don't get scared. Just face reality. Be objective.
Living off 30-minute school
and
naps.
Don't allow your
I respect
fears
it,
to
bro.
get you knocking your knees, saying, "Oh well, maybe. Oh well, possibly." No. Be rational. Use your good mind. If there is no God, when you die, you rot. When I die, I rot. End of story. Just think about it. Now, there's an alternative to that. And the alternative is that if there's a supernatural God, then possibly there is life after death. And I can promise you, I would never believe there's life after death because I'm scared to die. That's being a wimp. That's being a coward. Instead, you'd better use your brain and you better start thinking and you better figure out, does the evidence point to there being something more to reality than matter and energy, there being some type of God, or does there not? And then secondly, you better use your brain and you better think real clearly. Does the historical evidence point to Jesus having died and risen from the dead or not? And I can promise you, if you believe there's life after death because you're scared to die, you're an intellectual wimp. And I would never believe there's life after death because I find it attractive. And Matt is wrong. I don't believe there's life after death because I've got this deep longing for life after death. But I'll tell
He's
you
a
exactly
really
what I
good
do.
public speaker.
If I find that I have a deep longing for something,
He's a character.
I look at the evidence to find out, is there any truth to it or not? And if there's no
He
truth
changes
to it,
levels. He
I
changes
drop it.
tones.
But if there is evidence to support
He's
it,
like a more toned down,
I would be very
less
wise
comedic Jim
to
Carrey.
follow that evidence. Now, why do I believe there's life after death? First of all, because the evidence says there is a supernatural God. And second of all, because the historical evidence is that Jesus was dead, and 3 days later, he rose from the dead. And the people who saw him risen from the dead died for, not for belief, they died for what they claimed to have seen.
Quentin, you're
Dead Christ
unhinged, bro.
Risen from the dead. If you claim to have seen something, like Matthew, Mark,
We're trying to keep it professional
John,
here, damn it.
Thomas, Philip, Andrew, Peter. If you claim to have seen
Says the
dead
degenerate.
Christ risen from the dead, and then you stand before Roman soldiers, and the Roman soldiers say Caesar is Lord and live, or else maintain that Jesus is risen from the dead, and we will execute you for it.
He is
And if you
risen.
stand there and say, I'm sorry, I've seen Jesus risen from the dead, that gives your claim tremendous credibility. So the evidence is Jesus rose from the dead. That's why I'm convinced when he promises you eternal life, if you trust in him, he ain't blowing smoke. He's speaking the truth.
Cliff says if there's no God, we just rot. That part is true. What he gets wrong is assuming that's a problem. Just because the idea of death is uncomfortable doesn't make something else magically true. That's not evidence. That's wishful thinking. He also says people died for what they saw, as if martyrdom proves truth. But people die for all kinds of beliefs. Muslims, Hindus, even cult members like Heaven's Gate. Dying for something doesn't
I'm
prove it's
unfamiliar
real.
with the gate.
It just shows how strongly someone believed it. Cliff brings up Jesus' resurrection like it's a historical fact, but we don't have first-hand evidence. The Gospels were written decades later, anonymously, and contradict each other in key details. That's not strong historical data. It's hearsay. Hitchens was right to say, what can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
I need to hear what.
And so far, Cliff hasn't given any
rebuttal
evidence.
is.
Just emotional appeals and stories written down 2,000 years ago. Let's hear Matt one more time.
One is this continued objection to, without God, there's no ultimate meaning. There's no real purpose. Well, I don't know what you mean by real purpose. That seems kind of cheaty. But as far as ultimate meaning, yes, I agree. No ultimate meaning in the existential sense that you're talking about it. And it doesn't matter one bit. The car that I've got out there parked in the parking lot, I've had for a couple of years. One of these days, it's going to rot away. Does that mean it's not valuable now? Does that mean it doesn't have any value to me now? I mean, there's no purpose, so I just go ahead and chuck it now? Let's get rid of it. Eventually, it's going to be useless. That's absurd. We all recognize that things have meaning and purpose right now because they are valuable to us. These are properties that we imbue things with and we imbue people with. Do I matter as much to you as your spouse? Bet you I don't, unless it's you. This idea that without the ultimate meaning, or if something is ultimately meaningless, doesn't mean it is always meaningless, or it doesn't mean it's meaningless in every way. This idea about morality, that it's all relative. Actually, I'm a staunch defender of absolute morality. And despite Cliff's straw man, I'm not saying that slavery is immoral because I said so. It might surprise some people to know that while I don't think there's intrinsic value, I think that there is value in people, and that's the value that we imbue them with.
Yeah.
This idea that...
I mean, it just depends on the lens you're looking at it through. Even from the perspective of looking at the universe, you know, as a 13.8 billion year old entity, however long old it is, in the grand scheme of things, the planet Earth and humanity is minuscule. We are a blink on the cosmic scale. So in the grand scheme of the universe, we ultimately really don't matter all that much. But that's why it depends on the lens you look at it through. It's like, are you a nihilist that you kind of look at it through that lens of like, oh, we ultimately really don't matter on the scale of the universe. Life is going to go on whether or not we're here or not to observe it. I mean, not life in capital L sense, just life in the existence will continue is what I mean. Or are you more of, the type of person who is more of a glass half full kind of person and looks at it, it's like, no, we're here, we're experiencing, we matter because we experience, and we, like Matt's saying, we ascribe value to things. These are the questions that people have grappled with for a lot of many years, man. I don't know, it's hitting a little bit just because I've grappled with it myself. I remember when I first became an atheist, I was deeply nihilistic because I fell into that trap of, it's like, oh shit, we really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. There is no, it's like, I don't believe there is a God, so I have to trust the scientific model of this universe is this, 14 billion year old thing that in the cosmic scale, we don't matter. We didn't exist before. We're not going to exist eventually. It is what it is. So it's like, why does anything that I do matter at all? And I definitely fell into that trap of thinking that life sucks, and it just because of that. But we have to kind of make our own. Dude, I don't know. I'm drunk, dude. Don't listen to me, dude. I was not prepared for this. My bad, bro. Carry on, Matt. Take it away. So, we matter. We got to make happiness.
It's flatly absurd.
We got to be happy,
it's the exact
bro.
opposite of what I just finished talking about how you go through and you build up this system. We are physical beings in a physical universe that follows physical laws. There are truths to be discovered about how our actions benefit us and how our actions harm us. This is simply true. Yeah. We don't need another mind. This is about the interaction of minds, but we don't need some transcendent mind to dictate what is true. We discover what is true about the reality that we inhabit. God or not, soul or not, we can choose everything on the list that Cliff just talked about being good to each other and building a productive society and caring and loving and trying to end poverty, trying to end depression,
I appreciate,
and trying to build a better society.
I like how Quentin's playing therapist to Marshall right now. That's great.
We can do all of that just because it's the right thing to do. There's no evidence for a soul. In fact, there's good evidence against it. There's no evidence, or not enough evidence, of the various God claims that are out there, or not any particular good evidence, at least that I've been made aware of. But I could be wrong. And tomorrow, I could find out that there is a God.
True.
I do have a soul.
I would fucking love that. I'm not going to lie, bro. Like, that would make things so much easier for me. That would make things so much easier. Please reveal thine divine self. Let me know of your existence so I can stop the bullshit.
Much for me as far as how I end up living my life, because I've already come to good reasons to do things.
True.
I'm open to be-
There is that too. Yeah. Right. It's like, if you don't need that, I guess, the religious moral compass, if you come to it on your own terms. But I'm just saying, if there is actually a God or some kind of alien species that transcends humanity and is actually truly wise and actually understands how shit works, that would make life so much fucking easier, bro. So much easier.
Being corrected on them. But what's going to correct me is reason and evidence, not appealing to a God.
The way it is right now, this is the guy. I don't know if the reason I watch him so much is because his show, The Atheist Experience, is the one that really made me open my eyes. The phrase that stuck with me is, I have no good reason to believe. And that was true. That, like, deep down, that was the truth. Because growing up, I grew up in an Islamic household, so I believed in Allah. I did my du'as, my prayers, and we weren't like super hardcore religious. Like, we didn't do the 5 to 6 daily prayers. It was basically just a thanks before every meal and a belief in God, right? But it wasn't until like I watched his show and he made me ask the question, why do I believe? Why exactly is the reason that I believe? And I came to the realization that it's like, I didn't have a good reason to believe. I only believed because I was told that a God exists. And when I started applying that to everything else, I was like, holy shit, this is insanely eye-opening. And I went down the rabbit hole. And that's, like I said, I fell into the nihilistic trap. But these days, like 10 years removed from that, having lived it for damn near a decade, if not more, I've just kind of come to terms with it. It is what it is. That's why I wish a god or an alien presence would reveal itself. It's like, please come down, man. Like, let me know you're actually there, and let me know that the last 10 years have been completely wasted.
And if people ask me, well, what are you going to do when you die and you end up standing before
Rock
God?
my world.
Hey, I tried. I used my brain. I followed the evidence where it was. And by the way, if your character is actually accurately depicted in the Bible or the Quran, I don't want...
Yeah. You know, proof is all around. Proof is all around, they say. And as you're saying, it's just how is that proof specifically of the Christian God specifically? You know what I mean? Because I'm assuming that's what you're arguing for, and I don't want to necessarily turn this into a debate. It's just these are the rebuttals that come to mind. Is proof might be all around for the God argument, but I look all around me and I see proof of the Big Bang model. I see proof of insane happen chance and the universe just creating, I guess, what you might call miracles, right? Just a 0.0001% chance of happening, and here we are. And it's just how the universe works is what I see evidence for. I see evidence for these. I see evidence for the gravitational model. I see evidence for the evolution, the theory of evolution. I see evidence for the Big Bang. Like, I don't know. The God thing is just such a leap to me now, because I realize that I have no reason to believe it's any specific God. You could argue that there is a cosmic force that we have yet to understand. There are so many questions that science can't answer, but that's the God of the gaps argument. That is, science can't answer this yet, so we're going to insert God into this. And that has happened so much. And I've seen that. Dude, the atheist experience fucking changed my life. I'm gonna be real with you. I fucking miss that show, dude. He's no longer on it. I don't think he's been on it for a couple of years now, but like he was the host. That's why he's become a mainstay.
I'm already morally superior to you.
Again, my bad, bro. I don't mean to turn this into a debate. I'm just, these are the arguments and the ideas that I've kind of just come to terms with for a very long time now. It's just part of who I am. Doesn't mean I don't respect people's beliefs. I've also checked this out. This is actually kind of the trap that new atheists fall into, is that they see religious arguments and they kind of scoff at it. They're just like, like stupid Christian, stupid Muslim. Like, you know what I mean? And I've actually gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? People have their beliefs, and if it brings them comfort and it brings them an experience where they feel complete and it's just part of who they are, and they're not hurting anybody specific, like that's kind of the big one, is that as long as they're not trying to force it down anybody's throat, and as long as nobody is suffering from it, let people be for the most part. Like, we can have these civil discussions about what actually is the nature of reality. Is there actually a God that created the universe, or did the Big Bang happen? Like, we can have these fun discussions, right? But I no longer see value in getting into heated arguments and conversations about like whether or not like God is real or not. Like, if God's real to you, cool. He's not real to me right now. If he wants to reveal himself and make himself real, cool. That would make my life so much fucking easier, but he's refusing to do that, so I'm choosing to not believe.
I know.
Long story short.
Never sanctioned slavery. Never sanctioned genocide. Gods have. Do all religions lead to the same God?
God, your Christian God, the only one there. I figured. I was being kind of pedantic with that. Like, I assumed that's who you were talking about, but the reason I said that was because that's the argument. It's like, I've always got to narrow it down, because you could be talking about Krishna, you could be talking about Allah, you could be talking about Yahweh, you could be talking about any other God that has existed throughout history.
I don't know. I think it's
I don't know.
unlikely. I think they clearly all define God differently. I think you could go right down into the same church on the same pew and get two different people, and they're
I've read the
God
Bible.
differently, and they're going to have different views of God.
I've read the Bible. If that makes you feel better, I'm not completely demonic. I have a book. There's a book in my closet right now. It's titled 30 Days to Understanding the Bible. I haven't read it in forever, but my when I was living in my apartment, my roommate gave it to me. He was a Christian. He was a diehard fundamentalist, God-fearing man. I went to church with that guy, bro. Like I'm not foreign to Christianity. I've been around it for a very long time. I remember impressing the guy because I was talking about seraphim, the class of angel, and he looked at me and he's like, "Bro, how are you not a Christian? Like, you know so much about this shit." And I was like, I know the lore. I enjoy the lore, but I don't believe in it. You know, it's fun. I see it as like mythology. I see it as like a fairy tale kind of thing, and I see the value in the metaphor. Like, there is value in the stories. I kind of snap back to reality. I know I titled this stream something completely different, and we went down the religious rabbit hole. This isn't necessarily where I wanted to go with it, but I'm kind of glad we did. This is fun. I'm glad we're talking about it. It's not about you. It's about me. You want my soul to be saved. To deny God is the first and biggest sin. I'm not necessarily denying God. I just need God to show himself, because that is my standard for evidence. Because, fuck, my bad, bro. I'm not going to turn this into a debate. I appreciate you. I appreciate the fact that you want to save my soul. I'm recognizing my instincts right now, and the alcohol is this is a double-edged sword right now. This is cool. Thank you. Beer hug. Not a sponsor.
I think there's as many different religions.
Twisted Tea too. Shout out to Twisted.
And my concern isn't whether or not they all lead to the same God. It's what kind of world do they end up creating? Because why should I care about an afterlife that I don't know whether or not it exists when I've got a life that I know that I have, and I'd like to make it better? And if your religion is impeding on the ability of people who don't practice your religion, or those who do.
I will comment on that, actually. I just saw the last part of that comment. Atheism is a cop-out to avoid responsibility. I see it as the exact opposite, because as an atheist, we see ourselves as the one and only agent in our lives. There is no God that is going to save us if we turn to him, because from a certain perspective, you could see it as you go to a church, you confess your sins to a priest. You could be the shittiest person in the world, and you can confess your sins, say 1,000 Hail Marys, and all of a sudden you're saved, and when you die, your soul goes to heaven. It's like, it doesn't erase all the bad shit that you did. So to say that like atheism absolves you of responsibility, I see it as the complete opposite. As an atheist, I take complete responsibility for everything that I do, because it means that I have to face up to it. There is no God that is going to judge me at the end of the day. I'm judged by the people around me. I'm being judged by myself and the people around me at the end of the day, which is really what matters. You know, I'm going to be dead. Like what God judges my soul to be. Yeah, I don't even know whether or not I'm thinking too deeply into this right now. This is fun. I need to stream on this channel more often. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just all about the life that we live, the relationships and connections that we make with other people, and making it as positive as possible, because the way I see it, when we're dead, that's it. And all we're going to have at the end of the day is what we took with us. Yeah.
From living the best life they can right now, then your religion's a problem. That goes for Islam and Christianity and Scientology and Hinduism and everything. If you're advocating something that is detracting from the good of this world, you're part of the problem.
Imagine having a record contract at a recording studio and demanding the CEO, owner, and founder of said recording studio to have an audience with you. Well, I mean, why'd they sign me then? Like, what the fuck? why did they sign me if they didn't recognize my talent? Why do I have the contract with them in the first place if they didn't recognize that I had some potential? I kind of feel like I'm entitled to an audience with them at that point. Personally, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say what the fuck in a disrespectful way. I'm just that seemed kind of. I don't think that's the example. It's a cop-out to avoid doing the right things to being able to sin without anyone to answer to. Well, I mean, that's exactly what I mean. It's like if I go about hurting people, I have to live with that. I get, it comes down to the kind of person you are. If you're a shitty person, if you're a psychopath who has no empathy and you can't feel what other people are feeling and you hurt other people, and you're okay with that and you can sleep at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. You're just a demon. But you're on demon timing at that point. But if you're a good person and you do bad things and you harm other people, you can't sleep at night, not comfortably. You dwell on that. You remember that shit. And you have to live with that. Like, that's your punishment, I see heaven and hell as states of mind. Hell is depression and anxiety, and it's bad thoughts and it's bad memories, whereas heaven is it's a comfortable state of mind. You're comfortable in that you feel secure, safe, and not. As an anxious person, I'm speaking from I guess definitely more of a hellish perspective, but a lack of anxiety, so to speak. To me, that's what heaven is. Heaven is an almost monk-like, enlightened Buddhist kind of state. Like, to me, that's what heaven is. Hell is this distraught, scattered, can't put proper sentences together, Star Bazaar kind of person. You know what I mean? Like, that's what heaven and hell is to me.
An atheist require the same faith that believing in God does?
No, seriously. It doesn't require any faith to not believe something.
Oh, interesting analogy. You'd be entitled to talk to the producer, for example, a priest. The owner, founder has so many things going on. He simply doesn't have the time to make an audience when you request. It's so interesting because I'm rewatching Supernatural right now. I don't know if you've ever seen Supernatural, but I'm on season 12 right now, and we've already met God, the creator of the universe, the Judeo-Christian God, and it's kind of exactly what you're talking about. Like, he's the owner and the founder. He made everything, but he kind of went AWOL. He just kind of disappeared. He just left. And he left the angels and he left heaven to just kind of look after the earth. You know what I mean? In his absence. And it's a good show. If you haven't seen Supernatural, I recommend it. But that's what you're reminding me of exactly right there with the owner-founder analogy.
It doesn't. Now, if atheism was this assertion that there are no gods, ooh, I'm pissing people off. If atheism was this assertion that there are no gods, well, then, yes, you might be able to make a case that that was based on faith, or maybe it's not. It would depend on what the foundation for that particular belief was. But atheism, in the weak atheism sense of I do not believe this, doesn't require faith. I don't believe there's a Bigfoot. That's not a faith. It's not a faith-based position.
He sees your talent. That's why he gave you the okay to have you on the label. That's why he cuts your checks, but you don't demand audience with him. It's the other way around. So basically suck his dick until he says, yes, my child, I will accept you.
I'm not asserting certainty that there isn't a Bigfoot. I'm just not yet convinced. The Bigfoot claim hasn't met its burden of proof.
I see what you're saying, bro.
Neither of alien abductions, which, by the way, I'll point out, you can actually...
Either way, either one would work. Aliens or God.
Now,
I don't care.
Who will tell you they're alien abductions.
They're both the same thing.
Living, breathing people, you can talk to them. They
the Anunnaki.
Similar in detail.
Leaflet brought up the Anunnaki
in some cases,
earlier.
There are multiple people who have supposedly experienced this together. In some cases, the things that people have seen have been in entire small towns. And you can interview these people. How many people think that they're actually being abducted by aliens, not me. And that's people you can talk to right now. Somebody writes a couple books, in a couple thousand years, somebody could stand up and say, hey, look, I wouldn't believe it, but look at all of these accounts. These are firsthand people. They were interviewed by the news. We have a much better record of what was happening at the end of the 20th and beginning of 20th.
And my bad, I just saw all of the chats up before, like, where was the one I just read? It was something about coming back to Jesus. No, I appreciate you, Quentin. I appreciate you, bro. You remind me of my former roommate. He was the guy who took me to church. We rode out to church. He got me into riding motorcycles. He got me into guns. He got me into conspiracy theories. Like, that guy actually had a huge impression on my life. But he couldn't get me hooked on God. Of all things, he couldn't get me hooked on God.
First century.
That's funny.
Than we do about what happened back when Jesus was supposedly alive, or back around the time that Hinduism was being formed. This is a real record. We even have video footage of people talking about how they came down. And then they'll start tying it together in an intricate little web, the same way conspiracy theorists do right now.
Here's the thing. After church, we would ride out to Denny's. Oh, bro, Denny's had those bottomless pancakes. I would always order the bottomless chocolate chip pancakes. So we would go to church. The church that we went to had free coffee. That was the biggest thing. I was like, yes, I get free coffee in the morning. And we talk about Jesus. And then after Jesus, we go to Denny's and we get bottomless chocolate chip pancakes. That was my ideal Sunday. It was a great time, dude. And I got to ride a motorcycle.
Oh, there were lizard people in the government or crop circles out there. We don't believe in any of that, I hope. I am at Texas State. I kind of respect you guys because I don't care about colleges, so we're not in any rivalry. UT. But we don't believe that. Why should we? And yet we're expected to believe what is potentially a more extraordinary claim and weaker evidence. There's nothing particularly extraordinary about a universe that's 13.7 billion years old, that there might be some other life somewhere.
Maybe. I hope
I don't
so.
know. Probably unlikely they made it this far. No reason for them to pick out Earth because we're not special, despite what many creationists would have you believe.
I mean, we're kind of special.
Wile E. Coyote God who straps on a hat and balances on a wire and goes through all...
Matt makes a powerful case here.
Does he, though? Because what's the standard that he's going off of? He says we're not that special, but I would argue we're very special. If he's saying there are no other life forms out there, I don't know if that is actually what he's saying, but if that is what he's saying, I'd say we're pretty fucking special. So, like, special compared to what, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I guess he is saying aliens, because if he's saying, okay, if aliens were to come here, like, what's so special about us? But if aliens had the technology to come here, so check this out. Okay, there's two types of aliens. There's two types of aliens, and it depends on how they get here. If they get here by teleportation or some other kind of like wormhole kind of thing, they're good. They're good because they're so far advanced and wise that they've got past the point of war and having to bargain with force, right? They can bargain with ideas. They're so telepathically advanced that they can just appear. If they get here by combustion or propulsion, or if they have to use a spaceship to get here, they're probably going to attack us and try to kill us because they are a warfaring species. They're not so far advanced to where they can argue with ideas. They still have to argue with weapons and guns. You know what I mean? Like, so those are the two types of aliens that we're dealing with. If they get here by teleportation, we're safe. That's what I'm hoping for. Fingers crossed.
You don't need God to have meaning.
If we see spaceships, we're fucked.
And science backs him up. Studies in neuroscience, psychology, and evolutionary biology show that humans are wired for empathy, cooperation, and moral reasoning. Not because of religion, but because these traits help us survive and...
Yeah. You told me about that miracle. I'm not trying to shake your faith, dude. I've said it like 5 times now. I don't want to turn this into a debate. It's just fun to talk about this stuff, but I'm not trying to, deconvert you or anything like that. You did tell me about that story.
Thrive as social beings. Purpose
And I wouldn't
doesn't
take that
have to
from you.
come from some ultimate source to be real. It can come from love, family, creativity, curiosity, things we build and share. Just because something ends doesn't mean it was worthless. That's true
Yes,
for life,
it is.
relationships, and
It is just conversation. But from my perspective, I'm talking to a fucking camera. And I've only got my own reactions to judge off of. I don't know how people out there are hearing it. I know that you're not the type to necessarily get offended at what people say. So I appreciate the fact that you're having the back and forth. It's just... It's me and my projected feelings about how the conversation is going. And I guess from my perspective, I'm worried that it sounds like a debate. But if it doesn't come across like a debate on your end, then that's perfect.
and even a good story. As for morality, Matt's right again. Objective moral systems can be built without appealing to a higher power. We observe the consequences of our actions. We learn what causes harm and what creates well-being. That's reason. That's evidence. And that's enough. Matt doesn't pretend to have all the answers. He just refuses to accept bad ones. He's willing to change his mind, but only for a good reason. That's intellectual honesty. And that's the foundation for a better world. So here's the question. If the life you're living now is the only one you're sure you have, what are you doing to make it count?
Alex, why are you an atheist then?
This must be a compilation video.
Beautifully.
That sounded like he was about to say like and subscribe before you go, but I think this is it's like a mashup of some of his best hits.
As always,
I gotta do that. Bro, what if I did that on Star Bazaar? I just took some of the best tips and tricks videos and mashed them into like a 3-hour fall asleep to Battlefront tips. Bro, I'm actually doing that. I don't even care.
Although
I'm doing
there
it.
are more
That's
than
great.
two things that amaze me.
Recycled content.
When I look around the world or capture my imagination, let's say. Of course, the stars at night are incredible. The moral feeling that every person intuitively has, except maybe a few eccentric examples of human beings who don't appear to
Eccentric
have
examples,
that within
yeah.
them. These are amazing, but what also captivates me
I
in the
need to
nature
watch
of our
more
human
Alex O'Connor.
experience
This guy's brilliant.
is the depth of suffering to which we're all capable.
For whatever reason, I keep getting genetically engineered skeptic recommended, but I never get cosmic recommended. Alex O'Connor. I don't think he goes by Cosmic Skeptic anymore. I think he just goes by Alex O'Connor now, but I don't know why. He never gets recommended. It's only GMS.
Of sinking. I think that suffering in many ways defines the human experience, and certainly the experience of non-humans, such that I know people who will go their entire life saying that they've never really experienced any real pleasure. Their whole life has been a misery. But you'll never find a person who says that their entire life they haven't had any real pain and suffering. This is something that equally needs to be accounted for. Now, to me, I said this in a conversation that I had with Trent and the others yesterday.
No, I haven't watched
as it's
Spartacus
famously
yet.
formulated against the
I actually restarted Evil. Funny enough, I think that's why this is fresh on my brain, because I was watching Evil last night. I don't know if you've seen that show, but it's really, really good. It kind of combines both worlds. It's like it examines religious phenomena from both a skeptical and a religious perspective, and it makes the audience kind of like come to its own conclusion. It's like, oh shit, is it actually demons, or is it a brain malady, you know? And it's a really, really fucking good show. Highly recommended. But I think that's why it's fresh on my brain. But no, I have not yet seen Spartacus. I'll have to put that on my watch list. There's several movies and shows on my watch list I still have to get to.
existence of a good God is usually thought of as a response to religion, as a response to the existence of a God. You have this construct, you have this idea of an afterlife and of ethics and of a perfectly good being. And then you look around you at the immeasurable levels of suffering that we experience, the nihilism, the pointlessness, the pain.
Yeah.
And we say this causes a problem. It's a response to it. But I think this is exactly the wrong way around. I think that the suffering came first, the nihilism came first, and that religion itself is a response to this. And so if you're wondering why it is that, of course, when you look
See, that is such a good perspective to have, because I actually agree. It's part of the human condition, right? Like, bad things happen to you, and as an emotional entity, you feel that. It affects you, and you have to find ways to cope with that. And, you know, as we evolved and as we progressed as humanity, we came up with these religious systems, these belief systems, and it provided relief. It gave us a sense of security and, you know, made us feel better about all the bullshit in the world. He's so right.
The nature of our human experience, why is it that we have this wonderful thing that seems to just explain it all away and give us a kind of comfort that we so desperately need? Well, maybe that's because it was how it was designed. The greatest accounts of nihilism and pain and suffering and of reaching out to God and finding no answer can be found in religious scripture. You can find in the book of Job the experience of a man who is suffering and doesn't know why. You can find in Ecclesiastes the lambastation at the meaninglessness of existence, the toiling and the toiling to no end, the fact that eventually all of our achievements will be given to somebody who is unworthy of them when we die and have to pass everything we have on to another person. And the book of Ecclesiastes ends with saying, this is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. That is, you have pages and pages and pages of nihilistic outcry. Somebody saying they just cannot understand why everything is so meaningless. They cannot live a meaningful life. They cannot find pleasure and joy in anything. And the conclusion of this
that sucks.
Is fear God and follow his commandments. It's kind of tacked on at the end there. The author of Ecclesiastes, the person who wrote it, is reporting the words of somebody else, Kohelet, who is the one who's the nihilist.
Right.
And at the very end of this, the author adds on their own addendum where they say, therefore, fear God and keep his commandments. And what does this say to us? It says to us that maybe this is just a way to escape the suffering. Maybe we just all recognize that we've been dropped into this completely ununderstandable
Hooded Ranger, what's up?
Pain and torment and confusion, and we have no idea what's going on. We have no idea.
Yeah, you probably did find me playing Battlefront 2. That's what I usually do. This is my alt account. This is what I do when I'm not doing other shit.
Where we got here, and it's terrifying.
We talk about
it's
God
scary.
and politics. This is
And so
welcome to
come
the
up with a
lip
way to
service.
try to console ourselves in this situation. Now, if we look at how suffering is embedded into not just the human experience, as I say, but also
Good
the
to see you
non-human
again, bro.
experience,
Thanks for stopping by.
then we can ask a simple question: what would we expect to see if Christianity were true? What would we expect to see? How would we expect life to have evolved? What would we expect?
Oh, I just saw that. If military movies are your jam, I'll watch Midway. I do like military movies. I think the last one I watched was Red something. I saw it in theaters years ago, but it was really, really good. It was a really like down to earth, gritty, real life look at ground warfare. There was some good aerial combat too. I remember from that movie. Wait, what was it? Midway? Okay, Midway. Is that also on Netflix? If that's on Netflix too, yeah, I'll add that to the watch list. I do like military movies. I'm a big fan of like Black Hawk Down and Saving Private Ryan. I didn't necessarily grow up with those movies the same way I grew up with like Hook and like the Disney Renaissance era, but those were for sure several rewatches every now and again.
People's interactions to be like. And if we assumed atheism, again, if we assumed, as I said earlier, that the world we find ourselves in,
especially
is just an
Saving Private
amoral,
Ryan, I've seen that several times.
Arena of accidentally existing organisms who just find themselves in a situation where they need to compete for survival.
Hey, take care, Marshall. Have a good night, bro. GG's. Thanks for hanging, man.
What would we expect to find? And what do we find? We find a system of natural selection which explains the origin of species on planet Earth, which is not, it doesn't just entail, but is based upon suffering and death. Survival of the fittest entails the death and destruction and suffering of the unfit. 99% plus of all the species who've ever existed on this planet have been brutally wiped from existence, even within the history of our own species. We've got all kinds of sufferings involved in its development throughout its history. Now, this kind of stuff is embedded into the very machinery by which God chose to create human beings. I'm not saying this can't be explained by Christianity. Of course, you could say that maybe this is all part of some grand plan. Maybe the suffering is compensated for in the afterlife. Maybe animals do go to heaven after all, and it just kind of makes up for all the suffering that they're forced to undergo. I'm not going to say this is impossible.
Hey, congrats on that 20 bucks, Hooded.
If we assume either hypothesis, what would you expect to see? I don't think we'd expect to see anything like this if we assumed that there was a benevolent invigilator. But as I say, if we assume atheism, not only do we explain what we see in the world, but we also come to expect it. I think it's a much better account. This is the problem of evil. Now, there's another argument, or another consideration, which is sometimes thought of as a subset of the problem of evil, and that's the problem of divine hiddenness. If there is a God who is good and wants to come to know us, then why is he so hidden from so many of us, so much of the time, even from those who so desperately seek his attention? Of course, there are people who are what J.L. Schellenberg has called resistant non-believers. They don't believe in God, probably through something of their own fault. Maybe they're resisting in some sense. Maybe they're they're blinding themselves to the evidence. Maybe they're really unwilling to approach the question honestly. Maybe they don't want it to be true and wouldn't accept it even if it were true. Lots of people like this do exist, of course. But as long as there is one example of somebody who honestly seeks God, wants to enter into a relationship with God, and has refused it, there's a problem here. How can this be explained?
That's a good
Schellenberg
point.
formalizes the problem as saying,
I never thought about it like that. It's like I'm looking at it from the atheistic perspective. I guess as an atheist, it's like I'm expecting God to sort of reveal himself in a cosmic, like, come out from the clouds kind of way. And it's like, and then I'll believe in you. But I didn't even think of it from the perspective of somebody who actually believes. Somebody who actually believes in God and desperately wants to communicate with God, but God just refuses to show, whether or not that person is like can see the signs. Because I know from one perspective you could say God is revealing himself to that person is just closed off to it, or they're not recognizing the signs when God shows them. But from my perspective, it's like I expect God to literally reach his hand down, pick me up, and be like, motherfucker, I'm here. But that's just not realistic.
if there is
that
a God
didn't
who is
happen in the
perfectly loving,
Bible. I don't
if
think.
a perfectly
Did that
loving
happen in the
God
Bible?
exists,
I don't think so.
non-resistant non-belief does not occur. Non-resistant non-belief does occur. Therefore, it would follow that there is no God.
If you start from the idea that God is all powerful,
Bro, okay, facts. You know what? I think I actually might believe in God now, because I was on this earth at the same time as Kingdom Hearts and Linkin Park, and also My Chemical Romance is the Black Parade. So, you know what? God does exist, confirmed.
all-knowing, and all-loving, then the reality of the world doesn't add up. Evolution isn't a clean or kind process. It's brutal.
It is
According to
very
the journal
brutal.
Nature,
Natural
over
selection
99.9%
is
of all species that have
gruesome
ever
thing.
lived are extinct.
Yes.
Most died out through famine.
Ask the dinosaurs if God exists. They'll be like, no.
Disease, predation, or environmental collapse. And suffering isn't just a human condition. It's embedded in the biology of life. For example, parasites like Loa Loa, a worm that painfully burrows
Loa
through
Loa?
the human eye, serve no moral or spiritual lesson. They exist because nature is indifferent, not because it's guided by love.
Are there, I guess I'll run the argument this way and you can fill it in how you
I
like.
need to hear this guy's
that
rebuttal.
if there
I've seen this dude. He's a YouTuber. I mean, they're both YouTubers, but this guy on the right, the Christian guy, I've seen his videos a couple of times. He's actually, I like him a lot. He's a good spokesperson for the other side. He's very reasonable. I guess that's the best way to put it. He's very reasonable. He sees all angles.
are at least isolated cases where we see bad stuff, but we say, oh yeah, I understand why God would let that bad stuff happen. Like minor moral evils between human beings that allow us to grow in virtue. Say, okay, I see why God would allow this kind of bad stuff. Here's the circle of bad stuff. I see why God would allow it. then it seems like, well, we've got this other bad stuff. I don't see why God would allow it. But from my perspective, if God is all powerful and all knowing, here's this circle, he could have reasons. I mean, who am I to say he does not have reasons for this other stuff? And also, it's not just that I would say, who am I to say he does not have reasons? I can think of some plausible reasons. So one that comes for...
How arrogant to assume he knows the inner machinations of God.
The issue of divine hiddenness, I'll give you a few things to chew on there. Number one, I think that God wants to...
This is the
keep
Almighty.
An epistemic distance so that we have more freedom to be able to engage him and pursue certain kinds of goods, like sharing the existence of God with others. For example, when you see police lights behind you on a freeway, you slow down not out of goodness for the other drivers, but because you don't want to get caught. Now, I'm not saying this is the whole answer to divine hiddenness, but I think that God, he gives some space, number one. Number two, an answer to divine hiddenness might be related to the other problem of evil. Because you're saying, well, look, if someone has gone astray cognitively...
Cliff, what was it? Cliff Knetchel? Yeah. He was in this video earlier. Hold up. This is just about 50 minutes. He was right here. Yeah, he was in this video earlier.
Because I find it attractive.
I couldn't remember his last name, but pretty sure this is the guy, right?
After death, because I've got this deep longing for life after death. But I'll tell you exactly what I do.
I was saying he's a less comedic, less animated Jim Carrey. He's a really good spokesperson. Yeah. Pretty sure that's the dude.
Cognitively, in that they failed to recognize God exists. Why doesn't God step in and correct that if he loves them? A similar question is, when someone goes astray and acts immorally, why doesn't God step in and correct them? Well, he lets us have free will. If he gives us moral freedom, I also think he gives us cognitive freedom. And I think he gives us that cognitive freedom so much so that even things like giving everyone a feeling that he exists, giving that sign, I'm kind of skeptical that would be sufficient, because there are people, Alex, philosophers, frankly, you're one of them actually, who don't believe in the existence of things that I think are patently obvious. Free will, self-consciousness. There are philosophers who think they're eliminative materialists, so they don't think the conscious self really exists. And that seems totally obvious to be real. So I guess that's a thought I have on this negative case for God.
That's actually one I haven't thought about too hard. Free will versus determinism. I guess I've always been on the side of free will. I'm going to be honest. I haven't thought about that one too deeply. That might be a fun one to go into. This video is almost over. Let me see. We actually sat through, Jesus Christ, almost the full hour of it. I think after this video, I actually kind of want to look into free will versus determinism, because that seems... I haven't thought about it too much. I've always just kind of defaulted to free will because I have the choice to say ooga booga versus booga ooga. You know what I mean? But in the determinism point of view, that was already written. Like, that was scripted. I said what was going to be said and always will be said. There was no choice to be made. But in my mind, I have a choice. Like, I always have a choice. I love choice. Choice is great. Without choice, we are not humans. We are automatons. And yeah, I'm on team free will, but that'll be a fun one.
And the way I would look at it is to make it simple is that, look,
this is getting philosophical tonight.
We have reasons to think God can allow some of these bad things. Who are we to say he does not have reasons for the other bad things? Here are some possible ones. And then there are marks of goodness in there that I still want some explanation of. So I guess that's how I would look at it a little bit.
Yeah, okay, so let's kind of take this in order. The first point is to say there are some circumstances in which it seems, at least plausibly the case, that God would have good reason to allow suffering. That there are sort of maybe cases of small amounts of suffering or cases where it's clearly beneficial in some way, it serves some higher order good. And if we're willing to accept that, God has good reason to inflict this form of suffering or to permit this form of suffering, why not think that he has reason to permit more suffering or different kinds of suffering? I can answer this by analogy, maybe. A famous analogy that's often given in the context of a discussion that's quite helpful is to imagine a child at the dentist.
Yeah, I was raised in a religious household. I was raised in a Muslim household for, my entire childhood. So until I moved out, my dad was a Muslim, and that was the rule that we lived under. We weren't super hardcore about it. We didn't pray 6 times a day. We didn't, face Mecca and do the whole shebang. We didn't do the ritualistic cleansing before prayer or anything like that. It was just, we said thanks before every meal. We believed in God. We believed God was watching over us, and that if we acted out of line or if we behaved poorly, then we would be punished by God. And it's like, do good or God's going to be mean to you, basically. And it's like, okay, I'll do good. That was just kind of my religious upbringing. And then when I sort of found atheism and broke out of that, I was just like, Jesus Christ, I've been lied to my entire fucking life. That was kind of my mentality about it. But yeah, I was definitely raised in that. I don't regret it. I appreciate it. I actually really appreciate the fact that we were diet Muslims, because my cousins, my uncle and aunt and my cousins, they were the hardcore Muslims, man. My uncle especially, he was one of the he wasn't one of the preachers at the mosque. He wasn't the equivalent of a preacher, the imam, but he was the guy who basically was everyone's contact. Everybody knew him by first name. He was the guy that everybody went to if there was an issue or if there was some question about the mosque. He was the point of contact, basically. He was hardcore into it, and his entire family was, and so were my cousins. And I saw, it's not that they were bad people. They were very good people, but I also saw the judgmental side of it, and I kind of saw what the religion did to them in that sense. And I appreciate the fact that my family were not that deep into it, because I think I turned out all right, all things considered. It was, it's a little bit different from somebody, especially living in the States where the majority of people are Christian, right? So having an Islamic upbringing as opposed to a Christian upbringing is definitely a different perspective. But growing up with Christians and growing up with people who had the other upbringing, I have a really good idea of what it's like.
When the child's too young, you can't explain to the child why they're undergoing the pain of the dentistry, but we all know that they're going through it because there's some better cause that's being served by it. Of course, if the parent was in a situation where they were able to prevent the child from needing to go through the dental operation in the first place, then forcing them to undergo it would make them quite cruel. I think that's more like the situation God is in. But I actually want to imagine that you see a parent who, and maybe you don't know anything about dentistry, maybe you're from an isolated tribe or something, and you see a parent kind of taking these sharp objects and digging into a child's mouth, and you think, oh, this looks pretty bad. Someone explains to you about dentistry, and you think, okay, right, so there's good reason for the parents to be inflicting this kind of suffering. Now, if we consider the kinds of suffering that we see across the natural world, we're not just talking about these kinds of cases of obvious benefit or menial suffering. We're talking about deep, intense, unimaginable suffering. So now imagine that you were walking along a road and you saw a parent just mercilessly beating up a child.
You were raised in a very Southern Baptist home and have turned away from it because of one thing that you just don't agree with. Once saved, always saved. You were taught this from a young age and it doesn't make sense to you. I mean, once saved, always saved. That just kind of makes, to me, that's like if you get baptized once, then it's like you're good for life. You get dunked in the holy waters and you go straight to heaven, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of different denominations of Christianity. It really just depends on, which you were born into. Like you said, so you were Southern Baptist. There's also like Protestants and Presbyterians. There's a lot of different denominations.
Just ripping the child limb from limb, just punching it, like contorting it out of shape. and you said this is terrible, this is disgusting, and we need to intervene. And I said to you, well, look, hold on a second. You accepted that a parent might have good reason to inflict suffering on their child.
And I think that's exactly why the different denominations will disagree with themselves. I'm sure there are other denominations that would agree with you. It's like, yeah, so, you know, you can get dunked once and then you can commit all kinds of sin but still get into heaven. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm sure there are other Christians who would even disagree with the Southern Baptist point of view.
If there's good justifiable reason, and if you're willing to accept it for these kinds of suffering, why wouldn't you accept it for this kind of suffering? You know, it's at least plausible they have good reason. Maybe there is some kind of reason that we are just incapable of understanding about their relationship, where this is something that needs to be done and is morally justifiable. But
hey Quentin, I wish you a good night, brother. If it helps, I bought some prayer beads. Oh, right fucking here. Perfect. Look at this. I bought 108. I technically 109 because the one right here with the fluff, it's the 109th, but it's 108 beads. It's a Buddhist thing. I was doing it for Buddhist mantras, so I guess, you know, I'm on the spiritual path, you know what I mean? So it's something, you know. I'm working on my soul, brother. No, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for taking the conversation in good faith, man. I really appreciate you. Your wrench on the Star Bazaar is well deserved. Get some rest. And I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll be streaming on the main channel. We'll probably be playing some Fallen Order. Actually, I'm trying to play as Cal Kestis. Have a good night, bro.
I don't think it just follows from the fact that we can imagine some circumstances in which the infliction of suffering would be permitted by a good God, that we should just hypothesize that even if we see a great deal of apparently meaningless suffering, we should just conclude on the basis of that yeah, he probably has good reason for that too. I just don't think that follows.
Well, I think my reply to that would be if I saw a parent engage in terrible abuse of a child, I have background knowledge to know what human parents are and are not capable of to contribute to the well-being of a child. And so a parent who is dismembering or eviscerating a child, I have sufficient background knowledge, given what human parents are, to know they cannot be contributing to the child's well-being. And also comparing it to a reference class, unfortunately well populated by parents who are abusive towards their children, and that this parent belongs to that reference class. But with God, however, if God exists, then I know that he is not limited in power or knowledge to bring about greater goods. He's not limited like a human parent in that regard. And then also, so the argument that you make, it is subject to a modus tollens, to a reversal. It's essentially saying if gratuitous evils exist, God does not exist. Gratuitous evils exist, therefore God does not exist. But if God does exist, it just turns out the evils are only apparently gratuitous. And so that will come down to our position we're in. But I also think that God's ability, when we look at the world also, when we talk, I think this is also important to bring up when we talk about the world, right? Like when you look at the world, when I look at the world, what do we expect? The world, like right now, the world, it's like it's like a slice of what we're looking at. Like the world is this 4-dimensional block. You know, imagine like the world is not just like right now. It's like the whole thing. And so under the Christian view, it's like there's a beginning of it, there's a trial period. The Catechism talks about it journeying to perfection. And then there is an unending, and this end of the block has no end. And it's reached perfection. So then we've discussed this before, and I apologize if it feels like we're going to tread ground we've already tread, but we have new people listening, which is good. One could ask the question, is it better if God exists, would it be the case he would only create a world we call perfect? Or would he create a world that journeys to perfection? And I would say a world that journeys to perfection would actually be somewhat expected because it has more goods in it. It has the goods of perfection, and then the other goods that lead up to that, like goods you can only have that are associated with evils, like compassion, courage, forgiveness, things like that.
Trent says God might have hidden reasons for allowing evil and suffering. But that's not a valid explanation. It's just appealing to mystery to cover up contradictions. If God is all-powerful and all-loving, the existence of gratuitous suffering, suffering that serves no purpose,
responds to Job asking, and Job's lucky in the sense that when he asks for a response,
skip the commentary.
for suffering, at least God actually answers him.
Right.
But God doesn't say,
I'm more
hey,
interested in the
take heed,
discussion.
I'm here for you. Chill out. It's all cool. I've got a plan for you. He says, who is this that darkeneth counsel? by
Gird
words
your
without
loins,
knowledge?"
man.
Yeah.
Yes, but
For I will question you, and you will answer me, as if to say, who do you think you are to deserve an answer here? This doesn't seem very tender to me. This seems like God saying, not only am I going to inflict suffering upon you, and not only am I not going to give you an explanation as to why that suffering is taking place, but who the hell do you think you are to demand an explanation? This seems, and the tragic irony of the situation is that, of course, God is saying to Job, implying to Job, well, you can't understand your suffering. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? You'll never get this. But the irony is that the reason for Job's suffering is explained to the reader of the book of Job. Right? The author of the book of Job explains to the reader why it is that Job is suffering. He gives the story of why God is inflicting the suffering, and yet the moral of the story is supposed to be, well, Job is suffering, and he could never understand. He could never be in a position to understand. Well, we are, as a reader, it's explained to us in the book, but we're supposed to believe that Job couldn't have understood.
But what happens to
and
Job
that,
in
and
the
that anger is a well, in the end of Job, Job is compensated. He's given like a new wife, as if that's just going to make up for the fact that his old one died.
No,
again, it's this idea that you can just kind of. He's like, well, he repents in dust and ashes, and then his life is restored, and he lives, a long and happy life. What are we supposed to take from this? A man who gets has all kinds of sufferings inflicted upon him, has these moments of thinking that God isn't what he thought he was. He says, God, how could you do this? God asks him.
Say God is so tender, he doesn't really care about having authority and being just and punishing wrongdoing. And then the other extreme is God is so sovereign, I don't care, I can stomp around because I'm the king. I do believe a right Christian theology can find a balance between the two.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would just add that I wouldn't mind if I was asking God, why is the suffering, including why you're not revealing
And it's
yourself to
important.
me. If he just screamed at me, if he just said, well, who the hell are you? I probably would be like, right, oh, there you are. Okay, I'm sorry, man. Like, I guess I do just repent in dust and ashes and become a Christian.
Are you sure? Really? Really?
Yeah.
Have you just heard a voice? Given your background knowledge, are you aware of many people who think they hear God, but they don't?
Yes.
How do you know you're not one of them?
Well, I wasn't even making a claim there as to what I like kind of ought to do. I'm just saying I think I would actually do that.
Okay.
I think I kind of wouldn't have a problem with that. My criticism there was just of you describing God as kind of being tender.
And also it's important when we look at like the biblical witness.
The book of Job is often cited to show God's wisdom or justice. But under scrutiny, it exposes a deeply flawed moral framework. Job's suffering wasn't punishment or the result of free will. It was collateral damage in a wager between God and Satan. That's not divine love. That's cosmic cruelty.
The whole time I was thinking to myself, but like, wait, doesn't the story of Job, like the devil had like a big hand in that? I'm pretty sure. So yeah.
And the
I'm
idea
glad I
that
wasn't
Job is
crazy.
eventually compensated with new children
It's
misses
been
the
a
point.
while, but like
Psychological studies,
I could have sworn,
including work published in The Lancet Psychiatry, show that the loss of a child causes trauma that no material restoration can erase. Children aren't livestock. Replacing them doesn't erase grief. Then there's the issue of God's response to Job. Where were you when I created the earth?
Another question you've wondered for a long time. God says we should be fearful of him. He also doesn't want us to follow him because of the fear of what happens if we don't. So which is it? Should we be afraid or not? Well, the angels say, fear not. Even though I look like a monster. Yeah, I don't know. There is that term, right? God-fearing man or a God-fearing person. I don't know. I guess it's just fear in the sense that there is this being that is above you that could, at the snap of their fingers, disintegrate you to atoms if it wills it. I guess it's fear in that sense, but it is packaged as a loving relationship at the end of the day. So I don't think I don't know. it is weird. It is weird. You're absolutely right. There is that contradiction. I'm trying to play devil's advocate. Funny enough, like I'm playing devil's advocate for Christianity. How funny is that? Satan batting for God. But no, it is a contradiction because you're held at gunpoint at the risk of your soul going to hell if you act out of line. But it's also supposed to be a tender and loving relationship. It's like a really bad case of Stockholm syndrome, to be honest. It's just you ignore a lot of the bad because there's a lot of benefit to it. Even as somebody who doesn't believe, and even somebody who has gone to church, that community was really, really nice. That was a really accepting community because I was known, I guess. My roommate had introduced me to people who were there, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, I'm Nathan's roommate. It's like, oh, you're the atheist. It's like, yeah, fuck, you guys know me. It's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm the atheist, I guess. It's like, that's so cool. There's an atheist here. It's like, yeah. And it's like the community was really nice. So I understand the whole sense of going to church, to having that sense of other people who think like you, and you can find that support and family, so to speak, you know. There is a benefit. It's not all negative. It's just the way it's described in the Bible. It really does seem like a bad case of Stockholm syndrome because you've got this almighty creator deity who, if you displease it in any way, it's just like, okay, later you're going downstairs. You're going to get thrust up the ass with a pitchfork from my least favorite son. I don't know, man. I try to see the realisticness and the good parts of it. Like I said, like the community, that's real. The sense of communion and coming together and having this good, happy vibe, singing songs together and telling stories about this dude who resurrected from the dead. Great. There was free coffee. The free coffee was my favorite part. I love that shit. Like, that's real. That's good. But like all the fairy tale stuff, like it's just that. It's a fairy tale. And that's how I choose to look at it. I look at it from the lens of mythology. I love mythology, like Egyptian mythology, Greek mythology. Like, it's just cool. It's cool stories, and it's metaphor for humanity in general. It's a metaphor for how we have lived throughout history and how, you know, we're progressing. It's mythology. It's just real right now because it's what people believe in the present day. Like the same way the Nordic people 1,500 years ago actually literally believed in Thor, the thunder god, and Odin and shit. And like we got movies about them today. 2,000 years later, they're gonna have movies about Yahweh and Jesus Christ, the same way we do now. Like Passion of the Christ. We're gonna have Passion of the Christ 20. You know what I mean? In full 5D immersive cinematic universe. I don't know, man. Yeah. Shit's crazy. I don't think I've got the mental capacity. I don't got the mental capacity to go down the determinism versus free will rabbit hole. I need to do that, though. I need to do that and the conspiracy night. I've been talking about the conspiracy night for the last 2 streams, and I still haven't done it. Fuck. All right, next time I stream on this channel, it's got to be conspiracy night first. That takes precedence. I'm actually gonna call it there. I'm kind of like, my brain is pooped. I've been talking and thinking, and I'm drunk and stoned, and I need to go to bed. I'm gonna put on some Evil. I'm gonna keep watching Evil. That show is so goddamn good, guys. If you need a new show to watch, highly recommend Evil on Netflix. If you've seen Luke Cage, the MCU show, it stars the guy who plays Luke Cage. He's the priest on the show, and it's really good. Highly recommend Evil. Check it out. I'm going to be watching that tonight. But I appreciate you guys stopping by on the stream. Everybody who hung out, Marshall, Quentin, Hooded Ranger, you guys have a good night. If you're going to be around tomorrow, I'll be streaming live on the main channel, the Star Bazaar. Hope to see you guys there. If not, I will see you next time. Peace.